Omnom, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing okay. I accidentally stepped on my HDMI cord coming out of my graphics card and bent it, so I had to find another one real quick. But other than that, I'm doing fine.
Nice.
Um,
Go ahead.
oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I was gonna say, I threw in a bunch of my old replay or a bunch of my replays, going back all the way to January into SE2 replay, and my ZvT win rate is my only win rate that's sub 50. And it's 48%.
Okay.
My Zerg is 50-50 and my Protoss is 53. Um, of those, I went ahead and split it into, I used the minute splitting and I figured out my worst uh, minutes to minutes like 3 to 6 and 6 to 9 minutes in terms of ZVT is 6 to 9 is 0 out of 3 games, 9 to 9 minutes, 12 minutes is 40%. 2 out of 3 games. Uh, sorry, never mind. And 12 to 15 is 25%. And it's pretty much the same from season 50.
Yeah.
Um, uh, 15 to 18 minutes, I'm at 45%. Season 50, it was 67, so I've gone down in that too. And then my win rates go up 18 minutes onward, aside from 21 to 24. But I seem to be generally improving the later in the game I go.
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of it is the 6 minutes to 15-minute timing pushes.
Sure.
Um, half of those were bio, mech. I'm sorry, bio that was tank and marauder heavy. There was some battle cruiser usage, and there was one game that I'd like to work on that was battle cruiser into or battle cruiser widow mine with eventually into Thor's,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't effectively counter it.
Okay.
Um, uh, aside from that, I think that's my biggest weak spot. Honestly, is that 6 minute to 15-minute timing push. I should say that in those matches, my hatchery injection efficiency was a little all over the place. Like one game it was 88%, but most games it's around 50. Sorry if you
No,
hear the barking in the
it's
background.
okay. I'm imagining it's like a Chihuahua or
Oh,
a
it's a
Pomeranian, maybe.
it's my mom's Yorkie.
Okay.
Um, I'm watching her dogs for the moment.
Nice.
So um, that is the biggest thing. I have wanted to try just a theory craft for just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I have wanted to trying to take the triangle bases.
Sure.
I like with this map pool. I actually like the triangle bases a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you
Um,
can do that.
yeah, and I've been considering doing my first creep tumor in my main base. That way, it can extend into the third faster. And I've tried variations on that. I've tried both a creep tumor instead of the first inject, like one in the main, one in the natural, and try to get my creep out further.
Uh huh.
And then I've done what I saw Cyril do, which was double injects the first time, and then you use 2 creep tumors from your first 2 queens. So I'm trying to figure out which one is better, but I'm still really early on, trying to figure that out. I just like because of especially where in some maps where the rocks are on the third base, that isn't a triangle.
Yeah.
Um, the rocks just give really good positions for tank pushes around that time.
Yep.
And I
Just.
bet that in my previous games, that's what I've been losing to is a lot of that early aggression, that one tank placement where my lings have to run around.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I've got several replays already ready. I can drop one in
Yeah.
if you'd like.
Sure. Let's do it. Whatever one you want to start with is fine. And just to throw it out with
Um,
the queen thing that you just said, if you double inject, the only way that's really going to work with a 3 base build is if you go very gaslight. So if you're doing any type of like
okay.
overlord speed build, that's going to suck with a build like
Ah,
that. But if you're doing like a standard build where let's say you get link speed and then you get like overlord speed after, you probably want to do 1 inject, 1 tumor, because you're going to have a really hard time spending your money properly, and you're going to have a really hard time actually making additional queens if, like for defense, if you're also spamming out mass larva the first round. So it's just it'll make it difficult to afford that, because you're talking about double injecting the first bit and then double tumoring after. So it really needs to be like gas light if you're going to pull that off properly. So make sure.
I will say that.
Or go ahead, sorry.
You're absolutely right. My unspent resources average for ZVZ, it's 406. For ZVP, it's 935. For ZvT, it's 1265. It's 311% above my ZVZ in terms of unspent resources.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have, like, you just want to basically kind of think about it like in the sense that more inject means you need more money, and less inject means you can take more gas. So
okay.
Yeah, like if you do a balanced build of 1 inject, 1 tumor, it works really well with you being able to make more queen, plus like after the first queen, plus also spend your larva and not have a problem. But there's no way you're gonna be able to take a third and make like 3 queens and spend 6 larvae all at once while taking gas. Like, that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out.
You're all good.
Which replay I want to do first.
No worries. Did you want to, just out of curiosity, did you want to focus on mech today, mostly?
I see. That's the thing. Like, I was looking at this. I actually don't have very many games of mech. There are 3 games of mech that like really bother me in terms of I don't know what the counter is, and a lot of that is Tank Thor and Battlecruiser Widow Mine. I thought I had a good counter for that, but it was just that one was a little hard for me. Plus, I think he kind of screwed me over in the beginning. That's out of all the matchups and all the kind of composition counters, ZvT Mech is the hardest because I don't know what exactly to build for that counter. I also think identifying what type of mech it is before it hits me is also a problem for me.
Okay.
Let me see if I've got... Oh, I think I know what would be a good one. Yes, I think this should be a good one. Let me drop it in... Discord.
Yeah, no worries.
Let me see, that was against Kappa.
Mech oppression. Yep. Mech oppression. Don't worry, guys. We're gonna talk about mech, and I'm gonna tell you guys all the tricks and secrets to kill it. We'll be like, this is what you do to make mech suck. It's gonna be great.
Okay. Let's see, that was, what date was that? 13th of May. Here, I can send you... I'm sorry. Let me send you...
We can also do something more. If, like, for whatever reason, you can't find anything, and no pressure, we can also just make shit on the spot.
There is the SE2 replay stats link.
Okay.
Sorry, that would be much faster.
Sure. Yeah, I'll grab it. No worries. It's not a big deal. I'll also do... you don't have to be on StarCraft for this. I'll do just, like, the straight-up screen share, so you can see, like, what my perspective looks like.
Sure.
While I'm watching it. Alright, and then I'm going to share screen right now. Alright, you should be able to see StarCraft right now. And then, yeah. Let's talk about this. Alright. And then as always, like, whenever I'm going to go for a while, I mean, I'm just going to be like a fucking non-stop flood of info, like, just talking. So if you, like, even if I'm mid-sentence, as always, just you can interrupt me and ask me a question, just so you don't have to, like, wait to, like, lose your train of thought, stuff like that.
You're sharing me... Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Do you see on Discord?
There it is. Watch stream.
Yeah,
there it is. Okay, great.
Okay. Yeah, just interrupt me whenever you want. If you have like a pressing question you want to ask or something, and I'll answer for you.
Okay.
But otherwise, I'll just kind of look at your build, make sure everything looks like good, and make sure your choices are making sense. We'll talk about it. And is like before we really jump into this, and I start like just kind of taking it away here. Is there some specific kind of thing that you want me to really kind of focus on watching what you do? Like I'm gonna kind of like bounce around a lot of shit on what you're doing. But if like for instance, if you're like for some reason I can't scout, I don't ever understand what they're doing, and I'm always guessing. We can really talk about like your scouting timings and like focus on like how like break that down like what you should be thinking about when you're looking at that. If there's anything in your mind, that doesn't have to be scouting specifically, but if there's anything in your mind that you want to really focus on and you think needs to really be improved in your gameplay, something you feel like you're weak on, we can try to work on that specifically a lot more. But if not,
where might spellcasters be useful? Because I need to start to learn spellcasters, and I need to know when to start using them.
Okay, yeah, we can. I'll give you moments when we get to them then, as to when like you could add them in your composition and how to use them and how it would make sense.
Okay.
All right. Everything is groovy so far. Everything looks normal. Good. I like your scouting. Is that Omnom? Yeah, it's Omnom. Okay, so this drone. So, is this something you normally do? What you doing?
No, right I saw his our SCV, and it acted weird. So I canceled my current building, Larva, built a spotting pool immediately to be safe, and I expanded later.
Okay, wait. Let me see this. I feel like because I was gonna time sort on that shit, so I feel like I missed the SCV part. But let's see what you. I want to see what you saw and see what makes sense here. Because if you ever have to cancel Larva 2, that definitely sucks. Early game, because I mean you don't get it back, so you're just effectively like losing the unit, even though you get your money back. Okay, right there, the SCV.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw it out there and say that that is not weird. There is no. So let me say it like this. This is very, very, very real. This is very true, and there's a couple ways I want to explain this really fast. The first, most basic way is a lot of Terrans only give a shit if you expanded. That's all they want to know. They don't care about anything else. It's just, did you make a natural? And that he literally saw it and he turned around immediately. He's like, yep, natural. Okay, I'm out. And the only reason why he cares about that is because now he can go for a command center on the low ground and not give a shit.
Okay.
And like he can do a standard build. He doesn't have to like build a bunker. He doesn't have to skip a Reaper and make like a Marine and make a faster factory to be defensive or something like that. He can literally just build a natural, make a Reaper, do standard Terran opener. Like being standard now is completely open to him because this 100% proves with how you took this hatchery that you do not have pool first gas. Because you can't you just took it like barely on time, right? And there's no way you could have pool gas and still take this hatchery at the same timer.
Sure.
Yeah, and this Terran knows timer for Zerg hatchery when it should be down, because every Zerg hatchery always finishes at, it basically it should be started anywhere between 50 seconds to like 54 seconds. So this guy scouted you at like 58. So the fact that he just saw that and left, like this is super standard. Now the second thing that you should think about here, okay? So that's like Terran's perspective, but now your perspective as to why this is not weird is if this was going to be any type of a proxy, a Terran player will not show you the SCV and then run away. Like he's not going to waste time running to your natural and then running away and proxying you somewhere else. He's going to literally 100% just go build the proxy, and then go ahead.
I think that's what messed me up is I saw that SCV and I thought that was too far to see my natural.
No, he was
not in range to see it.
He definitely saw you.
Yeah. And I just messed that up.
Yeah. Like if an SCV's vision range, honestly, if he's like, because he came to like right there, like if we go back like to the exact moment when he was there. So the SCV, you see it right there. Okay, so he went to like right there. like right about there was his max distance he would traveled, and that SCV being right there, his vision window, like the SCV just straight up, its vision window is about like literally like this big. That's a bit much like an SCV can see, so it's like relatively large for sure, and that's where it is right now. And he was a little bit further down and to the left than where he is from right now because he just turned around, so his vision window was actually like right there before he like left, right? Because he was like right there before he turned around. So definitely could see you 100%. That's close enough. And him being on top of the ramp and then turning around, again, all it means is he just doesn't give a shit what you're doing in your main, because he can guaranteed know that you're not going gas pool before hatch, and he can play normal. And then the two things you want to know as Zerg perspective is, if a Terran player is going to proxy you, they're going to run to the proxy right away. They're not going to run a detour and have to run like a super delayed proxy now. So they're always going to go immediately to the proxy spot if they're going to proxy. And secondly, it's too early for a barracks to be done. If a Terran player wanted to build a bunker, okay, if you go for a standard build of like hatch gas pool, a Terran player won't even be starting a bunker until your pool is like almost halfway done, like maybe a little bit more than halfway done. Like basically on the clock, a Terran player won't be starting a bunker at your base until probably like 1:30, 1:35.
Okay.
So it's way later than right now. This is definitely just a scout to see, are you fucking expanding or are you cheesing me? And then yeah, if you cancel an egg and make it like right there, all you're doing right there is you're fucking yourself over. Yeah, your build's getting all messed up now, for sure. Because now you're just a larva behind, because that larva doesn't respawn. That's why it's always, even if you like accidentally ever make an overlord. This is a tip for any Zerg out there, by the way. If you're a Zerg player that accidentally makes like 2 overlords and you're like, oh shit, whoops, I made 2 overlords at like 15 or like 13 supply, didn't mean to do that one. Just let it finish. Don't cancel it, because losing the larva is a complete ass. It sucks. It definitely hurts you, because you just wasted 10 seconds of larva time, and you'll never get it back. You get the money back, but you don't get the larva back. So it's just kind of, the larva is really important too. So. Yeah, I don't like this thing too that you did with the drone going to the natural, had to mine a patch. I don't know if that's a standard that you do as well, because you're thinking like my gas.
No, it was just I messed up, so I was
okay, just
getting off course.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say, just make sure you overstack the middle line rather than long distance that shit if your gas isn't done, but we're good. This though, I would say right here, if your plan is to take a third base, so like if you're thinking to yourself, okay, what's my opener going to be? I'm going to go queens, I'm going to make lings, I'm going to make speed, I'm going to get a third base. This is a mistake on how you saturated your gas prior to over your mineral line. That's not good.
Sure.
Yeah, so you definitely want...
That's also something I never do. I never prioritize my gas over my mineral line on ZvTs. This is unique. Okay. Yeah, definitely make sure you got that the mineral-based income coming in as much as possible, because the only thing this gas is providing you is speed. And it's if you're not going to be aggressive with it, you don't need it to be that fast. Alright. So you didn't take any damage. You made a creep tumor. I like it. You injected base. I like it. The only thing that you didn't... Also, this is kind of hard for you to do because you canceled the larva, I guess. But, I mean, you do have extra drones here. You should actually send a drone a lot faster. Ideally, playing it perfectly, okay, is you build your third base before the Reaper gets to your base. Sure.
And then one thing to keep in mind, it's really, 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 really important. If you don't do this properly, it will not work out properly for you. But if you do it properly, it works every time. You already fucked up with the... If you're going to take your... what's it called? This overload right here is already a mistake. Right? It's about to start. This guy right here.
That should be the third drone, for the drone for the third, and then the overlord.
Well, no, you don't make the overlord at all. You don't even make this overlord until after you make queens and shit.
Okay.
So what you want to do, this is what you want to do. This is playing it like perfectly. You don't actually make the overlord until you're at 27 out of 28 supply, and you start the third base, and then immediately make an overlord afterwards.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen is your natural's going to finish. It's going to give you 6 more supply. It's going to take you to 28 in total. And that's going to be plenty of cushion for you now to make double queen, 4 ling, and just start pumping drones. And then if you make your, and then if you drone up to 27 out of 28, that's going to be around the time when you're going to, ideally you should be running out of larva for a moment there. And then that's going to be around the time when you also want to start saving for your third base and not, like if you were, again, at that point, if you're like, I'm going to build an overlord, and the Reaper just runs right to your third, you're going to be waiting for money to go into your bank account to save up to 300, and then the Reaper suddenly gets there and he kills your drone. And you're like, ah, shit. Okay, well now I can't make my third, and the Reaper kills my drone, or I have to take a gas and hide it. And that sucks, because then your third doesn't start, and that's what you ideally want to happen a lot faster. So you just don't make an overlord, because it's such an expensive cost that's going to delay the hatchery. And then after the hatchery is started, that's around the time you're going to be taking drones off gas. That's going to be around the time, like, either 1 or 2, based on if you're going to... So if you're going to do an overlord speed build, you only take 1 drone off gas. If you're going to do a zergling speed build and not go overlord speed as well, you can take 2 off gas there. And they both work. And then either way, you're going to be able to then make an overlord, spin the rest of your larva up to 28, and then start your zergling speed.
Okay.
And then if you don't want to start zergling speed right away, right then, if your gas was delayed or whatever, if you just want to like save a little bit of money, what you could do as well is you could also do something like, for instance, build 2 gases here at your natural, make a queen at your natural, cancel the gases, and do like a supply trick for a second, which will spend all your money initially right there, and then suddenly the overlord spawns about like 10 seconds later, or like 5 seconds later when the next larva spawn anyways, and then you spend the rest of your larva and make like another overlord with it, and then make all your drones. Basically, you just want to make the larva your priority, and you want to get that third down fast to make more larva as well, with another priority of larva.
Okay.
So yeah, it's super delayed with how your third base is going out right now. And the third base should be starting right now. Like it should be starting about like almost when the Reaper gets there. And then your lings don't even need to be out here. So like, because if you think about it like this too, your lings are gonna get hit about twice as hard if you get caught off creep. So like if you're on creep, you can run away from the Reaper pretty fast. Like the Reaper can't really stop and shoot you that much. He can definitely shoot you and still move and shoot you, but it's gonna be about half as often as when you're off creep. So like your lings will last a lot longer, and the worst thing you can do is like lose your lings before your queen spawns for no reason. Because all you really want to do, all these lings need to do, is protect your drones on the middle line. It doesn't matter if he attacks your hatchery. It doesn't matter if he attacks a building hatchery over here that should be started. It doesn't matter what buildings he attacks. It only matters if he attacks drones, and that's the only time you want to actually expose your lings, because you're never going to kill the Reaper with 4 slow lings. At Masters League, no Terran is ever going to let that happen. So it's not worth trying to just go assassinate it essentially. Alright, and then, yeah, now this makes it really hard too. Like, if the Terran wanted to, he could definitely have denied that hatchery a lot longer. And been really annoying. And then you having to send your queen out like that, it's not ideal either, because now you are actually going to miss an inject. Like, for a little while here. I don't know how long this queen's going to stay out here, but that's definitely painful. That's slowing you down a shitload again. Does this queen just sit here the entire time? Okay, it's
no, I think it does come back.
Okay. Yeah. Try to avoid that. Like you've missed 2 rounds of inject already.
Okay.
That's fucking rough. You're already 6 larvae behind. And then triple tumor like this, honestly, it's not necessary this fast. With this queen should definitely be popping those injects, because now, if you're wondering why you have unspent resource problems, this is why. You could definitely be utilizing that larva a lot better. All right. Your second gas is a little early, I would say. You should definitely be rallying all your hatcheries right now to your third and just pumping that mineral line up. And then you're not injecting again. You haven't injected your natural for a while, I feel like. Because your next queen spawned. I mean, you did. I think you didn't inject a second ago, but like, you kind of just left. You went out roaming, and you didn't inject as you left either.
Yeah.
That's rough. Like, basically, this is how you should think about it, okay? This is how you should think about it. Your first queen in your main base can literally inject, like, just nonstop. The second it's alive, it just, every single time an inject is ready, it's doing it. You're never having the hatchery in your main not be injected, ideally. The hatchery at your natural doesn't inject first. It creep tumors first. But then as soon as you creep tumor it, it never stops being injected.
Okay.
And then the third base is being injected as soon as it's alive, and it never stops being injected.
Okay.
And if you don't do those three hatcheries in that way, you're going to fall, just like super massively fall behind. So the way you could do it is literally like this, okay? First queen in the main, just stay there the whole time and inject the whole time. That's fucking great. Queen of the natural, this is the only queen that has a weird rotation. And then for injecting purposes, and the way it goes is it goes tumor first, and then it injects, and then it runs to the third to inject the third, because you have enough time to do 2 rounds of something. Then I would highly recommend you do tumor first and then inject afterwards. And then if you go tumor, then inject, and then run to the third, you'll get to the third and it'll be spawning for real. Like the hatchery will be finishing soon. Like the queen will have a little bit like less energy than it's supposed to inject, but shortly after that it'll inject the third right away. So like you'll be setting up an inject on the third right as it's done, and then it never stops. And then the queen that you make at the natural, your third queen you make, replaces the queen at the natural, and it just fucking injects. And then you make queens still after that, like queen 4, queen 5, queen 6, queen 7, out of the natural in the third. And then those queens just continuously add creep in different directions.
Okay.
And the only time you should ever do this, okay? Look what you did here, where you grab your queens and you're like, everybody group up. Let's go defend the front of creep, because Hellions were there or whatever. The only time you should ever do that is if you just started a queen at the base that's about to get a queen pulled off of it. So it is already starting to build a queen like this, and right as you're going to leave, you set a new inject on it.
Okay.
You don't ever want to leave a hatchery uninjected like this, because yeah, you're not only are you leaving a hatchery uninjected, you're also leaving maximum larva on all your hatcheries. So you're not injecting all your hatcheries, and you're larva capping all your hatcheries. And that's fucking painful. This is like massively slowing you down. Like just looking at this, I would genuinely say this right now, okay? For every second that goes by, and your build is doing what it is right now, where you're capping your larva and you're not injecting your larva, your build is like every second that goes by, you're -5. Like you're 5 seconds behind, or like 3 seconds behind. Like it's massively damaging to your future of your game right here. So like if you let this sit here like this for 10 seconds, your build's like 30, 40, 50 seconds behind where it should be already, because you're missing out on so much supply you should have. And that supply could be a mixture of overlords, drones, lings, whatever, roaches, whatever you build. It's just this is huge. Like I can't stress enough how messed up this will make your build. It will totally ruin everything for you. And it's not worth this, where you're just sitting here and chilling. And like, waiting for potential hands to be there. So one thing you could do in the future as well, this is something I think you should start doing for yourself, okay? In the future, you should do this with your overlords. Overlord 1, go to the natural, chill at the natural. Overlord 2, sit at your natural, and as soon as your natural's done, go to the outside of Terran's natural. On the other, or the outside of Terran's main base, sorry. Like the other side of the Terran's base. Have an overlord like over here or something. So you can always like check into his base on the other side if you wanted to. Overlord 3, Overlord 4, and Overlord 5 go to the outside of each one of your creep paths that exists. So Overlord 3 could go like right here. And then you could push it forward as your creep pushes forward and always have the Overlord in front of the creep. So Overlord 3 could be like right there right now. Overlord 4, same thing, could be like right here at the start. And then you could push it forward and like right now it could be like right there. Overlord 5 could be up like up here while you build your third, and then while your creep spreads forward, this Overlord that, you know, this could be that Overlord, and he could move up and he could be like right here right now. And what this does for you is this gives you a spotter to let you know your queens don't need to stand on the edge of creep like this. They can spread creep and they can be spread out, spreading creep. And then, you know, like also these would be injecting ideally, right? If you have no queens here instead. But the queens that are or go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can I move the Overlord 5 to on the other side of the gold in front of the ramp?
That's too much. It's too far, I would say. And the reason why it's too far is because you want it to be just outside your creep, because you want no dark spot dead zone space that you go, like if your Overlord's here, for instance, okay? Or like right there. If the Hellions drive through, all right, and then you don't see the Hellions for a while, and you're like, I wonder where they are. It puts pressure on you to have to really pay attention to like where, like, basically, like, it makes you have like a dark spot that you have to worry about the entire time now. You're like, okay, is he here? 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 And the problem that happens with this is not just like, oh, well, what if he comes in and kills your drones? That's not the only problem. The problem is, as well, is it gives you no time to react if you want to make a tumor. So you could very well be like, I'm going to make a tumor, and then suddenly he just is right there, and he just roasts your fucking creep tumor, and you're like, oh, well, he's right there. I didn't realize that, because I don't have an Overlord there. That's why you want it to be on the edge of your creep. Like, again, I would say, like, if right here would be perfect, because it would see the edge of your creep, so there's no dead spot between the Overlord and the creep, and it would also see, if it was, like, right there, it would see all the way out to, like, right here. This area, like, right there. And you could see Hellions from like a full screen length of no creep away from your creep. And then it gives you a lot of time to react and get queens in front of the tumor and protect it.
Okay.
The whole point is making sure your creep doesn't die. And
how's my scouting so far in this game?
It's fine. Like, I mean, you saw third CC, you saw 1/1/1 opener, and you know he's got a natural. That's all. I mean, that's like ideal. That's the ideal situation. So your timer of when you scouted here was great. You move into his base like right around now. Yeah, this is perfect. Like anywhere between 4 and 5 minutes is great. I would say you could actually scout a little bit faster if your Overlord speed is finishing a little bit faster, which it is. Like your Overlord speed finishes at basically like 406, 405. You could totally scout in like right now, which is why, and you're not though, and the reason why you're not is because this Overlord that's going to scout is right there right now.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be crossing the map as Overlord speed finishes. This could be Overlord 2, like we talked about earlier, where it sits in front of your natural until your natural's done. That Overlord could then move up to his base on the outside of his main and set up this scout. So you could be scouting into his base right now. And if you scouted into his base right now, you would be getting into his base like as of like maybe 4:15 to like 4:20. And you could be like, okay, let's say you're scouting through like right now. Like you had to go through the red zone, and now you're actually getting a nice read through his base. But it would be like right now you'd have vision of this whole area, and you could be like, cool, he's got 1/1/1, and he's got a third command center, and you just see it even faster. And what this does for you is it makes you feel safer to make drones right now, and it's guaranteed that you're not going to take damage, as opposed to if you just drone right now off of the back of 3 lings, and you don't know if this is what he's doing exactly, and you're just hoping that you're going to be okay.
Okay.
All right. Something that's important to note too is seeing this build, what you just saw right there. Can you tell what build he's going to go for already?
It's bio.
This guy's
with,
going
Banshee.
This guy's going bio with Banshee.
Actually, no. Is the reactor not running on the starport?
So, I mean, right now, like that's what you saw right there, right? You saw Tech Lab starport.
Yeah.
You saw the Tech Lab barracks, and you saw the reactor factory, and you see a 3 command center setup. So this, I mean, just seeing what he's doing right here, you could assume that he's going to go bio because he's got a a tech lab being worked on with the barracks. But at the same time, this build also has a situation where this is the part where I was like, this is something you should pay attention to, okay? If this guy actually is going to go bio, there is a good chance that this guy is going to have a very support... Like, there's a couple kinds of bios that you should think about, okay? And there's, like, subsets of bio, and there's, like, more subsets of bio. And to make this not sound confusing, this is about, like, the easiest way you can read Terran. Number 1, does he have a third base or not? If he does not have a third base, then the subset of what he could be doing then is like a timing attack or a 2-base all-in. Okay, that's a fucking problem. If the Terran's gonna do a 2-base all-in, you need to be paying attention to that, because if you're not, it could totally kill you.
Sure.
Because it does timings that just like fucking rail you if you're not ready for it. So automatically that's ruled out because he's got a third CC. So that's huge that you saw that. It changes everything. And now if he's got a third CC and he actually is going to go bio, there's more subsets of what it is now. And the subsets of what it could be would be, how early is this guy taking his gas at his natural? So if you look at his natural, that thing looks pretty unsaturated when it comes to SCVs. He's got more like mules there than SCVs. So, and this guy double gassed his natural. So logically, what this means now is that if this guy is actually going to commit to bio, this guy is going to have a lot of support with bio. So there's two kinds, like this is why I said there's like subsets of what bio could be. There is hyper aggressive barrack space bio with like medevac. So it's lots of bio, and this is a build that has mineral based explosions. So there could be also lots of fast expansions with lots of drops. Like just mostly making bio essentially.
I think I remember what I was thinking when I saw this, and I think it was, wow, he has very few SCVs, and he threw down all of his mules at the same time. He is behind macro-wise.
No, yeah, this does not look good. I'm not going to lie. Like, this build is a fucking mess for Terran. But, like, if this guy were to actually saturate that gas right now, he's going to have way too much fucking gas. This guy's going to be rolling in gas. And the only way that this guy can spin that properly is if this guy is going to do shit like make double factory really fast and go for like double tank production or something like that. Like he physically cannot. If this guy just goes for a standard bio build with like, let's say he goes like 5 racks, 1 factory, 1 starport, which is the standard way to play it, he's going to have like 800 gas in the bank or like 900 gas in the bank, just fucking chilling. It's so much gas he'll have if he were to do that, because this is so early on the gas at the natural. As opposed to... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think I actually scout further ahead with my Ling after the Overlord. I'm scouting the gas with that Ling right now. I think I actually send it in just a second to try and confirm what it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, like he's building it already in your Overlord's eyes, and they're both done. So, like, even if he doesn't mine from it, it's still expense he spent on it. But the whole point of what I'm trying to make you understand here is that this right here is going to be bio light and support heavy. As opposed to if there were no gas right now at the natural and it was pure mineral, it would be bio heavy and support light. So support is factory starport and bio is barracks.
Okay.
And so this is like, okay, if this guy is going to play this style now, automatically I would be thinking to myself, this guy is going to have a lot of fucking factory units which are not Hellions, by the way. A lot of basically like tanks or a lot of like medevacs, a lot of liberator, a lot of any mixture of these things that are going to be mixed in with it is going to be like what's going to happen to you essentially.
Okay. And
yo, ESL, thank you for the fucking raid. Mike Savage, thank you for the raid as well. Holy crap! What up, guys? I'm doing a coaching lesson right now. Welcome. This is a master's level coaching Zerg lesson, but welcome. All right, and then yeah, so the way it just like how should I explain this? I
think my openings I should say my other openings that I'm gonna be able to show you are much better than this one.
No, that's fine.
This is
Yeah, no worries, dude. You're all good. I mean, it happens. This shit happens. It's totally fine. Uh, yeah, the fact that you're making spores is great. You're making your baneling nest, which is great. I think you took too much gas too early as well. Like, I think what your biggest problem is, these are your two biggest problems as a Zerg player right now. You don't inject enough, you don't use your larva enough, and you take too much gas too fast. Which is, it's like that. I'm not gonna lie, it's not just you who does that. That's like everybody's problem when they're like, why do I not have like these macro timings that other people have that I'm trying to emulate and I just don't. And it's always, you're not injecting enough, you're not utilizing your larva enough to generate it fast enough, and you're also taking your gas way too fast. It's such a common problem. And it's like, for instance, for you, with how fast you're taking a lot of your gas as well, your build better be something like fast mutas or like super fast hydras with Lingbane. Because if your build is just going to be Lingbane Queen, you do not need this much gas this fast. Because all you're doing to yourself is you're giving yourself way too much gas way too early, and you're gonna now stunt your larva because you're gonna have a macro hatch slower, you're gonna expand slower, you're gonna set your emitter line slower, which is gonna in turn make you have less larva to make less lings with, and also less queens with, because you're not gonna be able to afford it as much, because your mineral lines are saturating super slow. So it's gonna definitely slow you down a lot. Be careful with that. Yeah, I'm glad you backed off. Ideally, you want your queens to be over here. So when this is happening, what you should be doing right now, your major goal should be pushing him back off of your creep and replanting as far as you can.
Sure.
So if you like take your time, like obviously you need to fight him, so fight him off. But like, if he runs away, definitely don't just like chill for a sec. Like you need to try and recover as much of that creep as you can, because these are like literally seconds that are getting removed from your creep.
Sure.
So you're going forward, which is good. I'm gonna watch your background stuff while we're doing this. So you're making fast hydras, and that's like this is actually a scary thought for you. You're going Roachwarren as well, which is not necessary, I would say. If you're gonna go Roachwarren, this thing needs to be made a lot sooner. Otherwise, don't even bother making it.
Okay.
Like, this thing would honestly need to be made probably at like 3.5 minutes. And if you're not going to make it around then, just skip it. Because you'll never use it at this point. Or you shouldn't. And then this right here, your Hydrogen. Your Hydrogen, for it to be like effective, okay? Because again, the way you're building it, I'm not even kidding. This is like your all-in Terran on like 2-base economy.
Oh.
If you were doing like a 2-base Nidus, I'd be like, cool. Yep. That's fine. But that's not the case for you. You're doing a 3-base macro build, and you're making your Hydrogen off of 48 drones, which is an undersaturated main, a fully saturated natural, and a massively undersaturated third. Your Hydrogen should be getting like your tech essentially, which the fact that it's a Hydrogen is totally fine. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But for it to be like a proper quota of what you're looking for here, every single one of your first 3 bases should be fully saturated, gas included, before you make this building.
Okay.
Like you're definitely just, again, because at this point now, if this finishes, it's either going to get not used to fix your economy, or you're going to utilize it and it's going to severely handicap your economy again, because this is an expensive tech structure to like accommodate. Because now you're going to have to invest into Hydra speed, Hydra range, which is 200 gas and 200 minerals for both of those things. And then on top of that, if you're going to start making Hydras, those are supply heavy because they're 2 supply per larva now, which is much more than what Lings and Banes and drones are, which is what you should be making. So it's gonna make you have to make Overlords faster, which is another massive expense. And then also Hydras themselves are just expensive as well on their own, like way more expensive than Lings and Banes and drones. So this
Sure.
is a super expensive tech structure to to just add into your build right now, and you definitely can't afford it right now.
Okay.
I like that you fixed your creep, relatively far out. I would say though, make sure you spread out your tumors too, because it's not the worst, but if you spread out a tumor like one up and one down instead of both right next to each other, like, you would just have a faster recovery towards like more creep on more sections of the map.
Yeah, I think the turret blocked me out.
Yeah, that's fine. And then, yeah, this is also just kind of scary for you. You have very few queens. And this is a problem with the money that you're giving yourself. Like, right now, ideally, if you're going to have a queen-based creep defense like this, you want to have more, probably like 5 out here. Or like
Sure.
6 or maybe 7 out here instead of 2. Or sorry, you had 3 because it just the third one died up there, but even 3 is still low. Yeah. This whole game from this point on is you're super far behind. Even if you kill all these Hellions and stuff, you're just at a very, very negative position because your drone count right now, I'm not even kidding, you should be at this drone count at 5 minutes.
Sure.
So it's going to throw your whole game off. And by now, you should have like a 4th base that's done already and being injected as well. And a macro hatch that is done already. I think your biggest problem, like literally, I think this is the biggest takeaway that you should take from this entire coaching lesson, I'm serious, is you're focusing too hard on tech. Focus more on Larva and Lingbane and just like numbers.
Sure.
So don't try to get proper composition until you actually have enough money to afford it. So like literally, I want you to think about it like this to yourself. I'm not going to make my tech unit, whatever it is, I'm not going to make it until I have 80 drones.
Okay.
That's like the magic number that you should aim for before you actually make your tech. Because if you make
you're talking layer tech specifically.
No, I'm talking about the tech that you make that's beyond Lingbane for units. You should totally take a layer, because the reason why you should take a layer is baneling speed is massively important.
I'm sorry, I meant like layer tech, like
like Hydrogen, like if you were to go Infestation Pit possibly, or if you go Spire, any of those things, you can make it and you can start utilizing upgrades on it when you're at 3 base saturation, which is 66. But don't actually make the units out of whatever tech structure you go for until you're at 80 drones.
Okay.
Because your economy is so massively stunted right now, and you've lost... I don't think you've lost a single drone yet. You've lost no drones this game, but your economy looks like you have. And this is the Terran also is not capitalizing as much as he should. And this is just a moment where neither one of you is macroing up to par of what you want. And if either one of you was, you would fucking crush the other one massively, like going into the mid game. So yeah, if you just do gas light and more mass heavy, you'll definitely see some positive results there for yourself.
Evolution complete.
All right. And now you're making a bunch of spines. This is not ideal. And you're making roaches. So walk me through it. What are you thinking here? How are you feeling? Are you like feeling like he's about to do like a massive like Hellbat timing or something?
Yeah, I'm thinking Hellbats.
Okay. So at this stage of the game, spines and roaches wouldn't matter because you have banes with bane speed. So like that banes with bane speed are more value than roaches and spines versus Hellbats. The only time you would ever want to make spines versus Hellbat is if your build was gas light, which is totally fine if it was. But if he was going to do like a Hellbat timing immediately at your base, and like it was before you had your tech at all, we're talking like he does a Hellbat timing like around 4 minutes or something like that, or like 4.5 minutes, where it's like a super fast, like a 1-1-1 Hellbat timing attack right away, where like he's attacking your creep. Instead, he just runs into your base and Hellbats it. That's when you'd want to be making spines, and the way you could tell that he's going to do that is that when your Overlord scouted his base, you wouldn't have saw a third command center. You would have saw like an armory, and like like maybe Marauders being made with Hellbats, and you're like, one medevac, 4 Marauders, and like 6 or 8 Hellbats. Okay, there's a Hellbat timing. That's okay to make spine then. And if you opened up with a Roach Warren just because you wanted to open roaches, like again at like 3:30, something like a much earlier roach warren like we were talking about before, that's when you can make roaches as well to deal with something like that. But at this stage, both roaches and spines are redundant with banelings that deal with hellbat, and banelings are just better. So you're making like redundant counters to hellbat, but you're making the best one, and then you're following it up with like shittier counters. So it's just it's all it's doing is slowing you down again.
Your Zerg have evolved.
Yeah, then you're making hydras and stuff off of like 59 drones.
Evolution complete.
You're basically this needs to kill a lot of SCVs, otherwise you're. And if you were playing against a Terran who's macroing properly as well, you would be screwed if this did nothing, and the odds of this doing nothing are very high. Sure. Because if he has like a tank on the high ground, you're already fucked.
I'm trying to catch. I saw his stuff go to his north, and I'm trying to catch the Raven and the Hellions at the moment. Trying to head back.
Sure. So keep in mind.
He spots me.
Keep in mind too. If you ever move out on Terran's side of the map, the only time you can actually do that and actually have success and not be suiciding, realistically, you're gonna realize when you play against certain Terrans, this should die. Like this group of units should die. There's a timer in the game, and I would say the only time in the game that you're actually safe to do something like this, where you walk across to his side of the map and you look for like random like pokes and like maybe like a pick off here and there, is between the timer of like maybe 5 minutes to 6 minutes.
Okay.
And if you're not doing it around then, you're gonna just die, because around 6 minutes to like 7 minutes is when Terran starts to explode with production. So if you're getting here at 8:40, like a normal Terran in like Masters 1 or something, or like GM right now would have like probably 4 tanks over here sieged in some way, and he'd have a ton of bio.
Sure.
Like he would probably be at like maybe 150 supply right now.
Okay.
So like you would just be running into death.
You have already gathered all that field.
Yeah, like the harass phase definitely is over at this point. The best thing you can do is literally just defend your creep, and there's nothing he can do if he goes Raven plus Hellion. There's nothing he can do about your overlords if he has only Raven and Hellion, because you have overlord speed, and if he drops an auto turret on an overlord, which is the only way you could even attack it, it will fly away before it dies, because it'll just outrun the turret.
Okay.
Yeah, you're making a bunch of roaches now. You're effectively all in here, so we'll speed it up. This game should end. Like the fact that this game doesn't end, if you want, we can go to another game. But
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, if this attack, basically the only option you have now in this game is to max out and go attack, because this will never work versus a higher Terran. The timer in the game and what supply you're at and what your choices are from this point on are very like limited. You don't only have choice anymore. Any Terran is going to run your ass into the ground. If you're trying again, if you're going to go up in skill and you're going to progress through like masters, so we'll just speed it forward and we'll get to your attack here and see how you do that. But yeah, we'll just go on from this, because there's no real follow up to this in a real game, So you're getting just drilled by tanks, which is going to happen because this is a 10-minute timing, like a 10.5-minute timing, and yeah, it's just unupgraded. It's like you have speed and range on your units, but you have no upgrades otherwise, and you're running into a defensive Terran with tanks. So this is how it's about going to look. The only way you could have played this out would be if you would have gone for like a hive tech and got like Viper or something like that. But even then, you're in like the hardest spot ever, because your build is so far behind where it should be, and this Terran is also so far behind where he should be. But if you play someone who plays more standard and is on timers with macro, you're gonna be like, holy fuck, I'm like making my roaches ready to all in him, and he just attacks me and kills me. Like he's got so much more shit. So sure. Yeah, I think this game is kind of a wash at this point. Like for your opener could be a lot more like effective for sure. So we can just to give you an idea though, if you ever were in a position like this, okay, the way you should play this out would literally be scout his base again, because all you saw were Viking, tank, and Hellion. You'd want to scout him again and make sure he's going mech, because it looks like mech. Even though it looked like bio because he was getting stim pack early, it looks like he's going mech, right? From the composition you just fought against. Where was the stim marines? Where were all the bio? And again, that's something that comes into play. This is why I wanted to point this out earlier. The double gas at the natural is definitely, that looked like mech. Like nobody goes bio and takes 4 gases on 5 SCVs to the natural. Nobody fucking does that. Nobody does that. That's exactly what you did. That, by the way, that's why this guy's build is so far behind. Like if like he opened up a bio type opener, and then he went into mech afterwards, and he had no money. Just like you opened up with a heavy gas opener, went for hydras, and had no money, and you also weren't injecting. You guys both like stunted your macro heavily. But if you were playing against like mech right now, like some of the best choices you could make here would be, you could go into like swarm host. You could make, if you really wanted to, you could make like lurker viper, and just you'd want to do it in a way where you slow play it and you force the game to kind of stalemate out, and you take little trades and you try to be efficient with it. Because if you just do brute force attacks, it will never work unless you have a better economy than your opponent. And I would not justify you having a better economy than your opponent this game, because your economy is just not super strong.
Okay.
Also, stuff like this, it's nice, but stop doing it. I'm not even kidding. Don't do this kind of stuff. Okay. The reason why I say that is because you have creep. Creep spread is great. Like, I would say instead of doing this, work on your creep spread, but your creep spread is not bad. Like, your creep spread would be well on the bottom as well if he wasn't running around with the Raven and Hellions the entire time. Your creep spread is doing well. I'm proud of your creep spread. And the creep spread is so much more powerful defense than these 2 spines. Because you should see his ass on the map way before he gets to your base here, and you should be able to defend it with units at this point in the game.
Sure.
The only time... I'll say this last bit, and then we'll move on.
I think the 2 spines were because of the Raven turrets. I just thought that those 2 spines could stop the turrets.
I think it's honestly just a waste anyways. Like, it's...
Okay.
The only time you should ever make spines, okay, is if you're expanding a lot and you have a lot of drones and you have complete control of the game, and the Terran player is showing you all he wants to do in the early mid game is he does Hellion attack, Hellion attack, Hellion attack, Hellion attack, and he keeps like suiciding Hellions into your base, and you are basically saying, okay, well, I'm about to attack him, and let's say and the more immobile your army is, the more this makes sense. If you're about to now start leaving your bases more exposed, then you add spines before that is going to happen. Like, shortly before. You don't add them as you take bases. You add them as soon as you're no longer going to be on defense. Because if the Terran player is going to counterattack you constantly, you do want to have spines defending your bases then. And I would say these spines honestly should be like inside your hatchery. Sorry. Your spine should be like here and here instead of on the outside, because you also have no counter to if let's say you're attacking over here and the Terran player drives 6 Hellions and turns them into Hellbats and just wipes out the hatchery. Okay. Your hatchery is exposed. And Hellbats will literally wreck a fucking building. Like, fast. They hit pretty hard. It's not like Hellions themselves. So, yeah. Adding in spines is totally fine once you're going to no longer be defensive. But you're defensive anyways right now. Or, like, I mean, you just lost your army, so now you kind of have to be defensive, because if you just run more units over there, you're dead anyways. Sure. But yeah, cost efficiency with army and stalemate fights is how you don't want to play this out, because you want to just, like, fortify your side of the map and try to take micro-based fights. And that's a whole different kind of game, which we could talk about for a super long time. But I think that doesn't... For the sake of time, for what I watched here, the best thing that can help you improve at a faster pace is having proper openers instead of really breaking down micro off of a failed opener. I think. I mean, I think you're going to get more out of that. Because I think there's more understanding that I think you need to have for stages of the game before you really get into like the fucking super in-depth micro shit. Sure.
Here is... I think me playing better. I think this is the game I'm thinking of. This is Bio, I think, on Berlingrad. but I think you'll see kind of a better opener.
All right, no worries. And I like it. By the way, I don't mind that your opener. Like that's not like I'm like you gotta do better. But I'm just honestly, I'm just making sure that you're fully aware of if your opener is behind. The way StarCraft, like, I don't know if anyone said. I don't know if you ever heard me say this or anyone's ever said this to you, but this is so fucking real. If you want to get good at StarCraft, if your opener is behind, and you're setting up the rest of the game from being behind, you're already fucked. Like you just lose.
Sure.
Because high-level StarCraft is so unforgiving, you can't have weak openers and expect to be successful. That's just how, literally, it's like the hard reality of what this game is. All right. Okay. So how you feeling? I've been a lot really negative, but I want to check in on you, make sure you're okay.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. So we'll see how this one goes for you. If this one kind of goes down the same path, I'm gonna give you a build. I'm gonna do one for you on the spot, and I want you to recreate it. I think that would help you the most. But seriously.
Okay.
Because I'm not gonna lie. This is another concept to think about, okay? It's fucking real, and it's so true. The better your opener is, the more brain dead your playstyle can be.
Sure.
So if you just have more shit in a really effective way, you can kind of just roll over your opponent without even kind of having to understand shit at a very high level. All right. So he wanted to scout into your base, which is totally fine. I would say right now, this Overlord, in the future of your games, have this Overlord like right now. Start going to the outside of the main of the Terran, or something like always have, as soon as your natural is like 80% to like 90%. Go and go scout the outside of the base with your main Overlord. All right, and then you see the Reaper, you see the command center. I'm gonna look at your build now. I'm gonna go back to it for a second, as to see when I want to see your drone usage here. So you're rallying your drone down to the third. This is perfect. This is how you should do it. This is nice. You take your third before Reaper gets there. And then now, so you leave 3 drones on gas, okay? This is...
Yeah, I have been leaving 3 drones on gas until like 124, because I'm taking my third faster than my lings, and I realize it's because I'm building 20 Overlord, so I don't have enough for Zerglings until the Reaper gets really close. And so that's why I'm leaving the 3 on gas until I can assure it's safe. But I can just switch the Overlord to later and then move my drones down.
So
1 to 2 drones.
I'm gonna say it like this. What you said is the better way to do it. Correct. Don't make the Overlord. That is correct. But even if you didn't make even if you accidentally make the Overlord, it's still better to take a drone off and just put it on the main mineral line.
Okay.
Like, I really want you to break the mindset of being fucking crazy on gas, because it's fucking you so bad. Like, this gas mindset you have right now, it happened in the last game, but the more gas you took, the faster you took it. And right now, again, you're just prioing the gas because you don't want to lose drones in the natural, which I understand not wanting to lose drones in the natural, but you're prioing the gas over the mineral line, and you need to prio the mineral line. So you need to make sure your gas timers are super cut and clean. So if you're going to go for Overlord speed, keep in mind, leave 2 drones on the gas after you get Zergling speed. That way you can eventually, and the reason why that's important is because it hits if you leave, for everyone out there listening, okay, why does it make sense? Why does it make any difference when it's 3 drones or 2 drones? Why does that matter? The reason why that matters is because if you scout too early, you fucking don't see anything. you don't actually see what developed and what needs to be seen. So if you leave 2 drones on gas instead of 3 drones on gas, it gives you 2 things that are positive. Number 1, it gives you a little bit more minerals, a little bit faster, because you got more drones working on minerals. So it's a little bit of a boost in the mineral department, but it also delays your mineral expense that is paired with gas to make overlord speed, to do the upgrade. So you get more time to spend your money on shit that matters, like queens and drones, and making overlords, like actually developing your macro, and it delays the upgrade of the scout. And if you do 2 drones on the gas right after you get 100 for zergling speed, and then you do two drones after, you're going to see like your upgrade's going to be done right about 4 minutes, and 4 minutes is right when you want to get into his base and scout anyways, to be like, do you have a third? Are you doing 1-1-1? Are you doing 2-1-1? Are you doing double factory with blue flame? Like, what was your opener here? The only way you're not going to see something, like the only way going for 3 drones on gas would ever even be remotely effective would be you would see, oh, the Terran player is on like 3 racks really fast because my overlord scouted into his base at like 3:30 instead of 4 minutes. But then obviously you have to spend more time mining the gas for longer, so you're mining less minerals. You get the upgrade faster, which is more of stress on your minerals. But yeah, like it's uncommon and unlikely that you need to do that. It's just better, like for a standard player or for a standard play style, it's just better to take off gas. It's going to help you so much more. All right. If that happens in the future too, definitely just run the drone. This Terran player wanted to. He 100% should have killed that drone and still not died. He could have killed it and not died.
Oh, a new queen has emerged.
I like your defense on the creep tumor. So you got to be, again, like right here too, you got to be really careful about your gas. So now, right now, the second you hit the second 100 gas, you can start overlord speed and rip off the gas again. Only 1 now. And the reason the reason why you leave 1 on the gas, again, this is another reason why people are like, well, why do you take off another drone on gas? Why don't you leave 2 or go back to 3? Because what happens is the same exact thing as before. You will not have enough money, enough minerals in the bank account if you mine too much gas too fast right now to also not only afford queens, drones, lings, overlords, hatcheries. You will not be able to afford that, and also afford layer tech stuff, gas expenses. It will be too much, and you'll have this like, you'll be trying to like, you'll have like $20 in your hand, and you're like, well, can I buy things that cost $40 with this? It's like, no, you can't. You only have $20, so you have to pick and choose here. So it's gonna just like, you're gonna be making that your money slower. Whereas instead, what you want to be doing is you take a drone off gas, you leave 1 on gas, you make tons of drones right now, and by the time your 1 drone mines about the next 100 gas, like 80 to 100 gas. It depends how many lings you make, but by the time you get your mineral line at your natural fully saturated, and by the time this 1 drone mines up to a roughly 100 gas, that's going to line up together. So you're going to have enough money going into a layer to afford everything you need going into a layer, and also maintain making queens and spinning your larva. But if you don't take off gas, your timer for your layer, if you're doing it properly, if you make your layer right when you hit 100 gas, you're going to be like, well, fuck, I can't make a queen now. I can't make I have 8 larvae. I have like 6 larvae if I make my queens, or I don't make my queens, and I can spend my larvae, but now I don't have queens. So it messes up your whole economy. But if you're on point with your gas pulls, it's not all about making the money. It's about delaying your gas expenses.
Okay.
Like you can't like always like spin the gas as soon as you have the gas, but also mine more gas than you should be mining right away, because then you can't spend your money properly, and it takes money to make money in StarCraft. You need to generate money to then make things that generate more money. And if you don't do that on time, your whole build just goes then it just like plummets into the ground, and that's why last game you were so fucking far behind. Alright, so this, like again before, like this queen should 100%. I like that you're defending your creep tumor. That's totally fine. The ling should also come down right now, because again, if this turn player was, you're risking this so hard. If you make a tumor like that right in his face, this Terran player has plenty of time right now to run in, snipe that tumor, and run out and not die, because your lings are too far away. So make sure when you spread a tumor like this, your lings are like already here, and if the Terran like pays the price for it, if he wants to commit to that, and if he wants to try to kill it, there's a high chance he dies. But like right now, if you're this far away, a queen will never stop a reaper from killing a tumor. But this guy is not playing properly, and he just lets you have it. So this is something that won't happen in the future, is when you get better at StarCraft, when you play higher opponents. So be very careful about that in the future. And this queen right now should not be going to your, so like right here, the way your queen moved was great, okay? Up until right now. The fact that it was in front of the tumor was good. It just needed lings there too, and you would have been great. But now, as soon as the Reaper leaves, and you know, okay, tumor is going to be safe, we're good, immediately run back and inject, and then run down to the third.
Okay.
Because you're missing an inject again right now, and it's slowing you down.
Inject the third with that.
Yeah, you will. I mean, I hope you do. But it's going to be a little bit late now, because you're you're just missing a little bit, which is yeah. Like, it could have been at 20. It could have been just faster, essentially. And then this queen right here is late. That is a late queen. Because that queen should be finishing very soon after you inject your third. Or like this queen basically should be replacing the I wouldn't say the queen should be done already. It shouldn't be done already. But like it's not that it's not really that late. I'm kind of being a little bit nitpicky here. If I do say it's late, it's literally late by like 5 seconds. It's really not that bad. It's really close to being on time. But yeah, that gas is screwing you like hard. It's gonna the exact concept we just talked about. That's gonna slow you down, and now you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna realize this is when it's gonna really fuck you up. You're going to have a hard time justifying what you're going to do with your gas when you're at 100, because you're going to be at 100 really fast now, and your queen count or either your larva or your queen count is going to suffer from this. If you want to take a layer now, what is quote unquote on time, it throws off timers like hardcore. Also, not only that, but you actually right now would be at 136 gas. You would be at 100, because the reason why is because you made a bane nest.
Oh, I made a bane nest before a layer.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. You should ideally. So the only time you should ever make a bane nest for a layer, the only time you should ever do that, is if you think you're gonna get hit by hellbats. And you're like, well, I just want to defend banes. I want to defend myself with banes because I just feel like it, and the only time that would actually be something that's kind of like intimidating would be if the guy went for like factory reactor right away before even making a natural. Like basically if your opponent is this guy right here, that's when you can go Baneling Nest before. You can go Baneling Nest before layer against that guy. Against rough.
Okay.
But if he's not rough, fucking go layer. Like you want Bane speed. You don't want an early Bane Nest that does nothing. And you're like, well, do I make Banes now? Okay, so he's going Widowmine. Automatically, what does this tell you as scouting?
It's Widowmine drops.
Okay, perfect.
And so I'm going to build Spore Spine in my natural.
Okay, Spore, great. Spine, a bit intense.
Okay.
So I would say instead of making spines, okay, so actually, let me just walk you through what I would do here, okay? This would be my ideal defense, and this is what it's the same exact thing I told you about in the last game. It's not about spines, it's about vision. If you make a spine All that does is it caters to people who don't have multitasking. And if you want to get better at StarCraft and you're like, you're on the quest for masters, essentially, you're going to need to really dip into that multitasking aspect of your gameplay. So if you make spines right now to deal with Widowmine drop, that's assuming that you're just not going to pay attention and you're going to let spines just kind of handle it for you. Because that's essentially what it could do. Like, it's like, oh, well, it's just going to kill it when it arrives. Great. But if you instead give yourself vision, the way you can set this up is immediately you can have a creep tumor right now going from here, hug the wall going up. You can also have another creep tumor in the main going up. That's totally fine. You can make an overlord go like right there on the south side of your third. You can make two overlords go here and here on the right side of your main base. And the cliff, and they basically the medevac drop points that he could go to that wouldn't go over your creep. So if you have creep that stretches a little bit more to the right on the ground area, and you have overlords covering the sky, you have plenty of time to react to a Widowmine drop before it would get to your base.
Okay.
Now, something to keep in mind that's really important. If you have Zerglings, this is something that, like, micro-wise, if you understand this, it gives you way more confidence in the situation. If you have Zerglings underneath a medevac that has Widowmines in it, you can literally kill a Widowmine before it burrows if it does not have drilling claws. So, if you scout his base now with your Overlord with Overlord speed, which is why I would say you should definitely go deeper into his base now. You shouldn't just turn around. If you see an armory in his base, this could be a drilling claw based drop. But if we use like 200 IQ logic here, you already know he doesn't have drilling claw Widowmines, because even if you did or didn't know if he had an armory to unlock the upgrade to get drilling claws, he doesn't have a tech lab on his factory. So he can't physically upgrade it anyways. So this is impossible to have drilling claws. He still could have an armory, which could make these Widowmines be cloaked when they, like permacloak after they shoot their shot. But straight up, simply put, if you just go underneath where the medevac goes, and you have overlords to spot for that, and creep to spot for that, and you're paying attention, Zerglings go to where the medevac is, queens go help as well, go get rid of the medevac. You can literally just go kill him that way. And then if the guy is like boosting here and going to your main, just be ready to pull drones. Because another thing to keep in mind is a drone can physically outrun a Widowmine that is dropping and burrowing out of a medevac before it shoots it like detonates and shoots a shot, if you run away right away as it gets there. But if it's a drilling claw Widowmine, you need to run early. Like, you need to, it's a lot more scary, because a drilling claw Widowmine can be like in the ground immediately, and it just detonates a drone before it actually gets out of range. It's going to be a little bit easier to manage that now because they nerfed the Widowmine burrow speed a little bit, and the recent patch that happened a couple months ago. But it's still fucking scary when it has drilling claws. But when it doesn't, it's super easy to avoid. So if you're making spines and you're making lings, you're making redundant counters to the drop of what's going to happen, and all you really need is lings. I would say the best case scenario for you would be make a spore crawler in each mineral line, just in case your lings don't finish off a Widowmine as it burrows. It gives them a little bit more time to smack them a few more times if they're now cloaked, because a Widowmine will cloak when it actually burrows, but until it shoots its shot, and then it will come back out of cloak if it doesn't have an armory. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like spine crawler is just too much. It's too expensive. It's literally dipping into that expense area that you can't afford, that you don't really need. So like instead what you could do, a perfect counter to someone who plays like this, again, I want you to be thinking about massing and like how to make money faster and how to abuse that. And if you see, oh, this guy's a Widowmine dropper, what if I just fucking made another hatchery? What if I go for a fourth base while just defending this with drones and lings and like a spore? That would be like a great way to counter this, because if this guy's going to go for Widowmine drops, there's no way he's going to kill your buildings. Like, he's not doing a tank timing. He's not doing a bio timing. He's doing Widowmine pressure and, setting up his base, essentially. And then if you scouted a third command center somewhere in his base too, that'd be there's the armory too, right? So these are going to be cloaked. And then if you saw that command center right there, fucking huge. There is no way that this Terran can follow up Widowmine drops with a push. So there's no way he can stop your fourth base in terms of killing the hatchery. So all you got to do is spread overlords, spread creep, and pay attention. Multitask.
Okay.
It's hard to do that, I'm not gonna lie, but it's a great counter to something. Like it's literally dipping into your skill as a player and less automated shit in StarCraft, like a spine crawler. The only time you should make spine crawlers is like, I would say it would be appropriate to make spines once you're like fully saturated with like 60, 70 drones on 3 bases at the very least. But even then, ideally, if you took like, let's say you took like a 4th base and now you have like 85 drones, I would be like, cool, you can make some static D now, because at this point you're like really kicking into that gear of making army, and you could now maybe get Widowmine dropped while you're out of position. And as long as you're paying attention to the Widowmine drops, if you ran your drones away from the Widowmines as they burrowed next to like Spore Spine, and then Spines clean them out, and then you go back to mining, you're fine. But like, because then your army doesn't have to like always be coming back while you're trying to take a fight at his base, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But like, here's an example, okay? See how you're making spines right now in production? You're making 3 spines and 3 spores. Your larva is at 16. You have fucking 16 larva. That, I want you to think about it. Like right now, it's almost like this guy, the way you're setting up your economy, it's almost like he just flew over your 3rd base and wiped out 16 drones. Because although your larva isn't dead, it's not generating either anymore. And that is something that you will only understand more and more as you get stronger at StarCraft, as you become a higher MMR player. You will respect larva a lot more, because you will start playing players that will fucking hard kill you if you don't have larva like checkpoints when you need them. Like if you're not like streamlining your larva as well as you should be. Like you're already so far behind again. And you're just not spinning your larva. This is priority number 1 here. And then it's the same thing I just said a second ago. You're making your static D, and you have 2 drones on the gas, and you went for a quick layer off of your fucking gas generation. You cannot afford this. Your whole build is ruined right now again. Just for fun, watch this, okay? I'm going to pause this at 5 minutes. Okay. At 5 minutes, I want to show you a build after this. 5 minutes, we have 43 drones on 58 supply at 5 minutes. We'll come back to that later. And another way to think about it is, this is very real, but another way to think about it is like this. With how much damage you just did to your own economy, the only way that this would even be justified, that it's okay, in some weird way, it's not okay at all, but like basically it now is at a point where even if you lose 1 drone, it's completely unacceptable if he attacks, when he does attack you. Like you need to lose 0 drones, because you've already effectively put yourself in a negative position in terms of economy. So if you also lose drones on top of that, while investing so heavily into trying to protect them and kind of making your own economy suffer, it's like a double negative. That's just going to massively, massively slow you down. And this guy is also not even attacking you. Yeah, yeah. This is you know, yeah. I don't know. This guy's kind of fucking up a bit to himself. Okay, so there's no rush here. Oh, but here's what you could do, okay? This is not the easiest thing in the world to micro, but this is what you could do. The best way to micro this, or actually I'm gonna ask you a question. Or no, I'm not gonna put you on the spot. I'll just tell you. 3 Banelings kills a Widowmine. Okay? 3 Banes kills a Widowmine. So the best way you could micro this, if you're microing this like a god, because of how you've committed into this fight like you just did, would be run your Lings past the Marines, try to get out of range of the Widowmines initially that are locking onto you, and then as soon as your Banelings get on top of the Widowmines, green box 3 of them and manually detonate them right over where he just burned his Widowmines. That would be the best way to micro this, for how you're trying to do it. But if you didn't want to do it like that, like it is a little bit risky to do it like this, because if you get hit by a Widowmine and you lose everything, Um, all you do then is you open up yourself to take damage at your third. So, like, if this guy were to essentially load up his medevacs right now and Widow Mines shoot all the lings and kill all the lings, and then he re-lands his Marines, you could be fucked right now. So it's a little risky. But yeah, three Banes blowing up over the Widow Mines, manually detonating them would be the best way to do this, and running out of the range of the Widow Mines with the lings. So, like, right, yeah, like, he loaded up. That's essentially what Terran's going to do. You have Banelings over the Widow Mines. You just killed a Marine. It takes 2 Banelings to do that. But you didn't manually detonate, so now they're going to shoot, and all your Ling Bane's going to die. Which is brutal. But if you manually select 3 Banelings there, and you manually detonate them over the top of those Widow Mines, you would have killed them all before they shot. And then all your Ling Bane would still be there, aside from 3 that you manually detonated. And then now he'd be running away from you with a large chunk of Ling Bane still there. But now what you're going to do, what I imagine you're going to do in production, is what you're doing already. You're making a fuckload of units. And this is not ideal for you, because you're not even on fully saturated 3 base right now. And you're making mass units, and your Terran opponent has a third. Like, you're at, right now, you're at 57 drones at 8 minutes and 15 seconds. That is really, 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 really far behind. You should be, like, at 85 to, like, almost 90 drones right now. All things considered. Like, 85, 80, like, 90 is a bit high. Like, 80 to 85, realistically. I'm not going to, like, highball you here, but, yeah, 80 to 85 would be, like, ideal.
Your Zerg have bloodied their claws.
And now you have 20 yeah, you have way too much larva all the time. That's your biggest problem. And you make it you're all in. I'm going to ask you a question. How often do you look at your drone count top right?
On occasion. I couldn't tell you exactly how often.
Do you not do it every game?
No, I do it every game. I just I couldn't tell you, like, every 30 seconds, every minute. I wouldn't be able to give you an accurate number.
Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to start paying attention to that number a lot more when you're getting ready. So I want you to think about Zerg as a 2-phase, like, race. You have worker phase and you have army phase. And you're literally, like, you're not prepping enough for army phase ever. You're always, like, you did it last game and you're doing it again this game heavily. What you're effectively doing to yourself is you're all in again, because you're turning the game into, like, army phase, where you're just slamming fucking, like, 60, 80, 100 supply of units off of, like, 55 to 60 drones, which is not ideal. That's fucking not ideal, because you're never going to have a bank with that. It's going to be really hard to afford to spend your larva with that. It's going to be really hard to tech with that beyond what you're already at. It's going to be really hard to afford upgrades with that. It's going to be really hard to ever replace what dies with that. So that's why it makes you kind of like, I'm going to make one army and hope I win the game with it. And that's not how you want to play the game. That's like a losing man's mentality right there. That's a mentality that's going to keep you diamond forever. Or, like, low masters forever. You have to... Yo, thank you, John, for the dono.
You can hover over your minerals and see how many SCVS. I was adding that shit up manually, son.
Thank you, man. Jesus. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, you gotta definitely set up the worker phase a lot better, like the build up phase. So what you should try to do, Omnom, is you should try to get to a point where you feel safe defensively with what you have, and I would genuinely say, like, these numbers are probably pretty decent to just, if you forget this, you can always watch this in the future in the VOD on YouTube when I post it, or you can write it down right now. That'd also be fine. But in general, 4 lings for the Reaper. When your spawning pool's done, you make 4 lings and you're fine. Then when speed is almost done, you make another, like, 12 to 14 lings and go up to, like, 16 to 18 lings for the Hellion phase, and you're good. And then as soon as your base is, like, around 60 drones, you add on more lings to go up to probably, like, let's say, like, 6 Banes and, like, 25 to 30 lings. So now you have a decent blob here that can deal Kind of like what you had roughly when you dealt with the medevacs right there a second ago. Like that was a decent amount of units. But then after that, ideally, you don't make any more units, any more Ling Bane. And this is when you need to figure out what the fuck's going on in the game. If the Terran has 3 bases, or if he's only on 2 bases, you can drone up to like 66 and stop, and then make a lot of units until you kill his army. If he's on 2 bases and he's all-inning you, if he's on 3 bases and he's macroing against you, you can literally drone up to like 80, and then go fucking crazy army mode. So
Okay.
the whole point of what I'm saying here is you literally have 20 supply, or like even like 16 supply or less, roughly, until you have 80 drones. Like 16 supply or less of like army the entire time until you're on 80 drones, and then you fucking just immediately shift gears, slam unit phase, like army phase the entire time, and then suddenly your army grows from like 18 supply to like 35 supply to 50 supply to 74 supply to 100 supply, and you're maxed out. And it goes super fast. But if you do it in a way where you're like, okay, I'm going to go to 56 drones and just stop, and now I'm going to make army, you're going to max out a lot slower. And then when you do finally max out, you're never going to have bank that will allow you to remax or tech with your max. Like you're literally going to be at the full definition of all in. Which is just going to, it puts you in a spot where if you don't kill the Terran, you're going to be like, well, why don't I win games? Why is this not working? Yeah. All right. So he's got a lot of bio there. It's fine. I definitely think you definitely want more Banes. But yeah, like what you're doing, I'm glad, by the way, I'm glad you didn't take that fight, because what you just did is you just made 15 drones. And if you just took that fight, when the Terran's defensive, which is it's an advantage for Terran, if you took that fight and then you lost your entire army and you make drones behind it and then the Terran launches a counterattack, you just die. But you're attacking at 9 minutes, which is an appropriate time to attack, but you're still in drone phase at 9 minutes. And that's not ideal. If you're still in drone phase at 9 minutes, your build's super far behind. Drone phase should be over by like 7 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why like you're definitely spending way too long on like the build up. This is what everybody does, by the way. It's not just you. Don't feel bad about it. I'm really hard on people with this concept because everybody fucks it up, but it's something that you need to fix. Otherwise, you're always gonna have problems. But yeah, you're taking way too long to finish off drone phase. And like, for instance, at 9 minutes, you're still not saturated on the third fully. You are saturated on your natural fully. You're still not saturated on the main fully. You have 1 drone missing on a gas, which you never fixed, and you have only 11 drones on the mineral line, which is like, your drone count is very low. You have 57 drones at 9 minutes, and you have 16 more that are about to finish. But even then, when you go up to 73 drones, that's still low at 9 minutes. All right, so I'm gonna kind of speed through this a little bit faster because I will give you some ideas on like how you can attack and stuff, but I'm gonna try to not spend too long on this because I seriously think the best thing you can get out of this is I'm gonna give you a build. I'm gonna literally run you through a live build right now, so I'll have you log into StarCraft when we do this, and you can watch it live, and then I want you to do it yourself. Like, I want to watch you do it once, and I'm gonna like walk you through it, and we're gonna watch your checkpoints of like your timers on your workers and shit. I think that's gonna help you so much more than anything else that you can do right now, because you're just fundamentally behind every game where you should be by a lot, and so are your opponents. Your opponents are also behind in their own respective ways. All right, that's definitely a scary thing to do there. I would say something to keep in mind in the future. This is a big tip right here. A big tip. You compromise the third base. Terran's not here. You killed a lot of SCVs. That's fucking wonderful. Immediately leave his base. Because two reasons. Two reasons. This is important. 2 reasons. Number 1, you just spent a good amount of your Ling Bane to kill the Widow Mines and the SCVs. So your army is weaker than it was a second ago. So you're less powerful if you take a fight versus his army now. So your odds of losing the fight have gone up dramatically. Second reason why, your Hydras don't even have move speed yet. So you have no way to retreat. When you do inevitably lose that fight. So if the Terran wanted to, he could stim your ass into the fucking ground while you run away and kill all your Hydras. Like, there's no way they escape if this Terran understands that concept. So you should definitely not take this fight. The second, like, when you kill those SCVs, that's great. That was a great attack. You killed all those SCVs for just a few Banes and some Lings to, like, you know, not much defense there. That's a great trade. Best case scenario, maybe kill the command center and run away, which is a little greedy, or just straight up run away right now after you wiped out the entire mineral line. Because that's a lot of damage this Terran just incurred. That is going to be hard to fix. And if you don't lose your army at all, you have a nice fat lead going further on in the game. But yeah, the Terran player... So, do you want to know why your Hydras didn't die right here? Like, or for any Terran player that's like, okay, well, how come these Hydras didn't die even though the Zerg player had didn't have move speed? It's because this Terran genuinely stimpacked and A-moved like right here where he is, and he stopped microing his units. But instead, if what this Terran did, if he moved command past the Hydras and then stutter stepped and maximized move speed, and didn't let his Marines constantly cock block each other and just stop and make concave blocks and have his other Marines run around it, and run around it, and run around it, and keep stopping and keep stopping. If he just move commanded a lot more there and stutter stepped forward, all the Hydras would have died.
Putrid crude tumor is under it. Your Zerg have evolved. For whatever your Zerg have
Alright.
You have all.
And then, yeah, I would say that too right there. Like, the Terran player did just push you away on the south side pretty deeply into the dark abyss of the map here. You should have been kind of ready for the attack. Like, you saw him moving left here. Like, you saw it with the Overlord there on the medevacs, and you saw his bio, like, kind of coming this way. So, going north with your whole army to kill that is kind of a distraction to kill this. So, you kind of should have definitely been more defensive on the south side because that's where his primary army is.
Okay.
I would say the best thing you could have done here, literally, would have been have the Queens attack this and run back to the spine because you have a spine there. But ideally, another thing you could do is if you have your like a rally point where all your like there, that's fine. If you just had more Lings, you could just send some new Lings. Don't even like 10 Lings could deal with this, and a couple Queens, easy. It's not even a medevac here. They could have dealt with it no problem, but your main army should definitely have stayed defensive on the south side. Also, one more time, you have 26 Larva right now. You fucking gotta fix that shit, dude. Your Larva is atrocious. It's gonna hold you back a lot.
Mineral mutation complete.
Okay, so he backs off. One of the best things you could do right now would be what I would say you should do right now is to literally send maybe like 6 Banes or like 8 Banes to the 3rd and just see if you can get a free mineral line kill and send the rest of your army right there.
Okay.
And only for a second. Don't just like go all in with it and try to win the game with it. The whole point I'm trying to make to you is just try to shave off more SCVs of the Terran, and the most likely place you're going to do that from is he might have a 4th base right now, and it'd be great to attack it right now because his whole army just attacked the complete opposite side of the map. So you could trade base for base, essentially, if it works out that way. If it's a PF, though, maybe don't take the fight because your army's kind of small. It's not that big. But if you send like 8 Banes as well to the 3rd base, you could essentially wipe out another middle line if he has it. And he doesn't have it, so... yeah, it doesn't matter. You could kill some fresh mules. You would have killed fresh mules, though, which would have been great. And if you went to the right, you would have actually killed a fresh command center.
Okay.
But, like, it's not like... it's not like it's like it's not like once you get really comfortable with this mindset, it's not that difficult to think about. It's like not like it's like holy shit, like this is some fucking crazy strategical technical genius shit right here. It's just this game is going longer. The longer the game goes, the more likely the more likely your opponent expands more. And the Terran just exposed his right side of his base because he's attacking the left side of the base, and because you let your left side of your base be exposed because you're already on the middle of the map, you could take that as an opportunity to trade a base on the right side of the map. And if it's there, kill it. If it's not, back off. And it's like, well, there was nothing there. And that's not bad for you either, because if this Terran player is still only on 3 bases at this point in the game, that's a sign that tells you, okay, this Terran's macro is under par. Because there should definitely be more than 3 bases at 11 minutes and 30 seconds. Like this attack right here, not justifiable. Like this is not a good attack. This is random. Because behind this, like if you think about it, the Terran, you don't ever want to take a fight with Terran when a Terran is already maximum like defense. The only time you want to take a fight with Terran when they're on full defense is when you have a setup. And the setup that is appropriate for this is you have maxed out supply, you have good creep spread, which is only growing, and if you keep Terran on defense, it only grows even more, uncontested in that sense. And you also have enough larva and enough infrastructure in your base to just instantly remax. So if you take a trade at his base, if he decides to push your base after the trade, you're already remaxed and ready to take a fight again on creep now, versus an army that is a little bit smaller than it was before because you took a trade versus his previous army.
Okay.
It's like the only time you should take fights like this. Because right now, instead of taking a fight like this, like you are right now, if you wanted to attack Terran, what you should be doing is avoiding his army and killing his economy. Like this is undefended. This is, however, fully defended. So this is not the ideal situation to attack. And he didn't lift off the command center. He let Bailey roll into it, so you killed it. Which is fine. But like again, I just want you to know that these concepts of the way you're fighting him and stuff is not going to work as you grow.
Okay.
You'll be like, wow, no one dies, and I keep losing. Again, right here, these spores. I don't mind that you did it, but I don't like how you did it. I don't mind that you do this later on in the game to do exactly what that just did, which is kill a medevac. But I don't like that you're doing this on a drone count that is low. Like you have so much static D on a low drone count. So the only problem I have with this is I want you to make static D when you have like 90 drones.
Okay.
Not like 50 or 60. Okay, and then at this point for you, what you should be doing right now is you should not be sending your whole army to attack. You should be scouting to see where his bases are. And you scout the third. I like that you stopped at least. You scout the third there, but I want you to scout the other side of the map as well. Now you can assume he has this base, but like if here's the thing. If you don't scout this base, if you don't scout this base, and if you don't scout this base, and you just attack this base, that is wrong. Because there's a chance that this Terran could have expanded north, and he might have this base, and he might have this base, and it might also be really greedy and really easily to kill for you. And if you just go to where his army is already situated, you could throw the game. So you just commit to this fight without any knowledge of where his other bases could be. There aren't any right now, but that's like a gamble that you're not figuring that out. Also, make sure every time you push a Terran, especially if he is a Widowmine based player, don't ever push Overseerless. I haven't seen you use an Overseer once this entire game. Definitely make sure like that's fucking scary, because here's another thing. If this guy was like a Masters player, you'd be fucked. Or like a GM player. All this guy has to do is one thing and he wins the fight. Tells one Widowmine to target fire a left side of your Baneling pack, and tells another Widowmine to target fire the right side of your Baneling pack. And then suddenly everything just explodes. And he still lost the fight anyways because, I mean, he's defensive with the PF there. So, here's another thing. If you remember what I said about do not attack a Terran until you have all these, like, triggers in your base that set up and make sense for you to logically then start attacking him. What I mean by that is attacking his army, not his just base overall. There's a difference there. So if the Terran is massively defensive here, I want you to think about this. If there was a base here, there, or there, like we just said a minute ago, that'd be a better way to attack him. Another way to attack him that would make more sense than this would be Terran's situated really heavily here. What if you went like this? Down and around into the natural. Let's see what let's see what he has here. He's got a Widow Mine. That's it. He's got one Widow Mine defending his entire main and natural right now. So if this army were to, and you have Burrow as well, or no, you don't. You actually don't. Why the fuck did it? What do you have? Why you don't have Burrow? But anyways, if you did have Burrow, you could do some cool shit with it too, like where you could make him like chase you into his base, and you could Burrow Banes as you go into his base, and you could detonate them as he chases you into his base. Like, I'm not saying that's what you should do. That right there is fucking fancy GM shit. You don't have to play that way, but that's an idea, right? It's something you could do theoretically. But if you just avoid this army and run into his natural and his main, you would kill all these SCVs, probably the command center as well. You could kill all these SCVs, and you could probably kill another command center as well. And that would make the Terran at a point where you could easily remax or like resurpass his supply that you lose and what he loses. You would surpass that, and then the Terran would never be able to keep up with you again at that point ever again, and you would just roll him over and kill him. Because the way you should think about StarCraft is who can maintain a higher supply longer, and that comes from economy, and whoever that is going to win with a higher percentage chance. Okay. So if Terran has literally, if this is his only active command center, he's got 16 SCVs on a PF with no orbitals anymore. He's got no mules now, no scans. This guy can't kill creep now. Can't scan for banelings, or can't scan for burrowed units in any way. It just puts you in a situation where you're always going to take good fights on creep, and he's trying to compete with like an economy of like 4 base Zerg with 1 base Terran without mules. And that's also not even considering the fact that you might even kill a lot of his barracks and his factory and starport stuff in his base while you're attacking his base while he tries to come back and defend.
Sure.
You did kill the tanks and you backed off there. It's not the worst. Like, that attack wasn't the worst, but it was kind of risky without needing to be that risky, if that makes sense. Like, if you would have done the, like, if you avoid... Again, you should just avoid Terran armies when they're defensive until you're maxed out. You should only go for his economy instead in that phase of the game. But you should definitely engage Terran armies when you are defensive because you have creep. That's like the advantage for Zerg. You're making way too much static D again. Like, I don't mind that you make static D. I really don't mind it. But you make it on such low drum counts. And that fucking sucks for you. Now you're at 80. You finally hit 80 drones at 15 minutes.
You have already gathered all that field's minerals.
So, like, right, okay, perfect. Do you see what just happened there? The Terran player just showed you on your creep that he's relocating his army to defend this base. The fact that you set up an attack opposite of this is so good. This is the perfect time to attack the PF. Absolutely perfect time. If you fought this army right now, it would not make any fucking sense because you're not maxed. You're not at like your optimal power spike, and you're allowing Terran to have less defended economy that's just there when you could have prioritized attacking that instead if you were to attack this army right now. So I love the fact that you're prioing the planetary right now while he's super far over here on the left side trying to situate this instead. This is completely undefended other than the PF. This base is fucking super dead. And now Terran's going to lose this game because his economy sucks dick again. So that was a great attack. You lost such a little amount of units to do a massive amount of damage there. The way you did that was correct. Beautiful. Do that more. Yo, Trisha, thank you for the raid. What up? Hope you had a good stream. Thank you, thank you. Doing a coaching lesson right now, but welcome. And then the fact that you come home to defend, I think this is fine. Because, I mean, you have the advantage, and you should be maxing out right now anyways. So the fact that you spend a little bit of time to finish this off and resume maxing is totally fine. But as soon as you max, go attack. And if you leave all of these Hydras here, I would say this is overkill. You could literally defend this, I would say, with like 4 Hydras instead of 9. It's yeah, it's okay though. It's not the end of the world. It's just not. I feel like it's overkill. So one thing I would tell you to do right now is you should definitely send a Zergling over here again, just like at least a scout, and reconfirm, is this guy retaking this right now? And is he sending a new mineral line of, like, did he lift off a command center and land it? And is he retaking this? You should check that again, because about a full minute has passed now since you last attacked his last base. The PF, that is. So don't fall into the trap of getting impatient and going, attack the other base now with no scout. Also, another thing you should do all the time, make overseers and fucking scout with changelings where his army is. You do not use that unit. You should start using it. Because you're blindly attacking right now. This is wrong. So watch this. No army here. His army's instead in the middle of nowhere. And he's got a base going up over here. So this is going to work for you because he's not defending anything. This is like the worst place he could ever be. Like, I don't understand what the fuck he's doing. This is defending nothing. But this base is completely exposed. This base is completely exposed. If either one of them was defended properly, you should go to the opposite. And just and then work your way in. But if you really wanted to take a fight though, it's okay to take a fight if you're maxed out with a high bank with a high larva count ready to remax with. And you have 2 of those 3 things. You have a high larva count and you're maxed, but you don't have a high bank. So remaxing is not super realistic for you. So you still should be trying to play a little bit efficient right now. If you had like 6,000 minerals right now and like 5,000 gas and you wanted to smash his army, I'd be like, fucking go for it. That's fine. But always, it's never a bad idea to kill an undefended base. It's never a bad idea. Like if you know it's undefended. So definitely scout more and figure that out. Also, you have too many ultras. You're getting a little ultra happy here. I would say a proper number of ultras to go for would be like 6. You have fucking 11. This is.
I like my nom-noms.
Yeah. Your ultras is like your whole army. So the reason why this is kind of scary for you is if this Terran understood how to kite and he also understood how to make marauders, you would die right now.
I did that because he was focusing down my ultra den, and so I overmade. I normally go for about 8.
That's also kind of scary if you think about it, because he killed down your ultra. He killed your ultra den as well when you were doing an upgrade, and now you don't have it. Yeah. So you have a bunch of like lesser ultras because now they don't have move speed, so it's even easier to kite you. I like that you backed off there. And then you should definitely go attack the next base. Like, you should just be bouncing back and forth left and right on his bases, and you should also be scouting which bases could, like, you attacked again without having any type of a scout, but he's not really defending initially, so that was okay, but it's, you attack way too blindly, way too much. I'm glad that you understand how to not be committed, though. So, like, it's okay to be blind if you're constantly bouncing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because you're forcing Terran to react to that. But whenever you go back to the other side of the map like this and go defend, like, a drop or, like, a marine, and then you go back again to his base and you randomly just pick something and you're like, I'm running a fog of war there, that's not good. Because you have no accountability for, like, where he is anymore. Anything's possible. He could be anywhere. And the worst
Sure.
thing you want to do is run your army into fucking a meat grinder and be like, oh, well, it's all dead. Dang it. Okay, so like right there, what you should have done, you almost started doing it. What you should do right here is you should have split your army 50-50. Because you can see on your creep right now that because he just killed a tumor. You can see him with the remnants of the vision that before he leaves is he's going down. You saw where he was going. You know, you can logically think about what he's doing right now. He's going to set up an attack right there, like right here. And he's going to hit this base right there. So green box like a chunk of your army and go right click right there. And then the rest of your army, like tell your whole army, for instance, to go right there. And then green box half of it and tell it to go right there. And then as soon as you see him touch the edge of your vision here, a move like right there.
Okay.
Because the worst thing in the world you can do when you go ultra crazy like this is give yourself really shitty surface area.
And I'm just about to do that here.
Yeah, no, I feel like you might lose this fight, even though you should never lose this fight. You have a massive advantage right now. You could lose this fight because you could make your ultras derpy as hell, and then they just block each other on the ramp. So your ultras are like stuck. So ultimately you're gonna win this fight, but that was extremely fucking messy. And you lost everything except for 4 ultras. Which is, I mean, you're still gonna win, but could have been so much easier if you just set that up properly. You would have had a way cleaner fight. And instead of having only 4 ultras left over, you would have had like maybe 6 ultras or 7 ultras left over. Probably like 6. And you would have had like probably 15 hydras left over. But all your hydras had to like run down and just die so that your ultras could like get in there. So it was brutal. Liberators are very annoying, I swear. Any Zerg player can relate to that. I fucking hate Liberators. You're making way too many. Okay. Remember how we talked about that? You made even more this time. I know you like your nom-noms, but seriously, stop making them at like 6. Because they're not good units. They're good at tanking shit, but they're not good at anything else. Like, make more Lingbane. Yeah. Stop making so many ultras. This is gonna bite you in the ass. Because the reason why, again, I'm saying that is it's about surface area. You don't want to have ultra like conga line where they're like dun, 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 ultra's dead, take his place, dun, 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 and it's just like fucking everyone's waiting their turn to die. And your army's gonna suck ass. You're getting such like you're getting bad uptime of damage there. Whereas if you only had like 6, you have like an ultra that is like it's like the fucking Legacy of the, or the Heart of the Storm cinematic where like all those Lingbane and like the ultras are rolling into the Terran, and the Terran tanks are like shooting the fucking heads of the ultras. It's like that. Like that's a proper army. Like that cinematic is actually real for what an army should look like for Zerg. Some ultras to absorb damage, while Lingbane actually do damage. I'm gonna tell you right now, 6 supply of Zergling does more damage than 1 ultra. If you have adrenal glands and you have fucking level 3 melee, 1 ultra is not like better than 6 supply of lings, which is 12 Zerglings. If you have 12 Zerglings hitting a building and that have adrenal glands and you have 1 ultra, 12 lings will probably triple that ultra's damage or quadruple it. Like it's not even close. 1 ultra is nice because it cleaves and stuff like that. But you got to think about it like this. People, and it only will be more realistic the higher MMR you go. Nobody is going to fucking AFK and be like, oh, he's got an army of ultras and I have Marines? Hands behind my head, I'm going to watch this fucking fight. And then fucking Marines are getting cleaved like 12 at a time. No one's going to fucking do that. Everybody is going to try to micro and split and kite and do all this shit like that. So they're not just going to let you get maximum cleave damage. It's not realistic. The only way that you can force that to happen is if you use infestors. And even then, banelings are better than ultras as well when it comes to killing an army fast. Because 1 baneling does the same damage as 1 ultra to like a marine. And does the damage immediately. It doesn't have to wait for an auto attack, wait for an auto attack, wait for an auto attack. It just fucking does it immediately. So the burst damage is way more potent and higher on like Banes. And a big part about StarCraft 2 is about that like spike where both armies dip really fucking hard at the start of the fight, because lots of stuff dies super fast. And then if you kill a lot of stuff really fast, the rest of your stuff doesn't die very fast and it sustains for a lot longer. So that's why if you have a lot of ultras, you're actually not killing stuff very fast, and you're letting your opponent have a high damage potential for longer, which is making your elephants just explode constantly, because you're like, wow, his army just keeps kiting and kiting and kiting and kiting and kiting, and all my ultras keep dying. Like, it's, yeah, too many ultras is bad, 100%. You want to definitely stop at like 6. This is only going to work versus Terrans who don't understand how to micro. Or are bad at it. And you've really got to use fucking Overseers, dude. You could have killed all those Widow Mines if you had an Overseer there before they even shot with how that just happened. Notice how this turn just stands there? No one will do that at higher MMR. Okay, anyways. Oh, do you have any questions about what we just talked about there?
No. I mean, I have plenty of questions, but I would love to see a build you do, and that will give me enough time to take my medicine while I watch you. Because I got to lay down and take my medicine, so I can do that for just a moment while I watch you on my phone.
Okay.
While you do it on Twitch.
All right. I guess just to make it easy, I'll just send you the replay. Okay. I'll just do it. You don't have to like join the game or anything. I can.
Okay.
All right. I don't know. Are you already online right now?
Yeah.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Yeah.
I can just invite you then. It's fine. Okay. So this is ideally what you want to kind of aim for here. Okay. And then I would say definitely practice this, and do this a lot, and try to you know, perfect this concept yourself. I'm gonna make you referee, or make you spectator rather. Okay. So it's all about development. It's all about development. And I'll give you a build that's like what you're doing already, where you get Ling speed and you get Overlord speed, and then you go Ling Bane, and I'll even make a Hydra Den. And I'll max out with it. But I'll show you how the differences are when in the development process of your first like 6 to 7 minutes. Because you're definitely struggling there, I would say. It's falling behind every time. Okay. So we, you know, everything's standard. We make a drone. Easy peasy. We stack close patches, ideally, for more money. More moolah. Okay. Gonna take our natural. And then at any point in time, if you want to ask me a question, go for it too, Omnom. If there's anything that, like, you, no, if you want to ask me any questions about what we just talked about the previous stuff, you can feel free to ask during this. It's totally fine. Okay. So now we'll oversaturate our main until our gas is done. We're not going to undersaturate though, under 16. So we're going to rally that egg now to the third of the 3 of 3 of the gas there. We'll make our next 20th drone now. Go to the third base. Not making Overlord. Keep making drones. We're gonna make one more drone. So now that 2 larvae will spawn, 1 at the natural, 1 in the main, right as the pool's done, which will be our 4 lings. So we're gonna make 4 lings, 2 queens, and a third base right now.
Oh, yeah.
So queen, queen, ling, ling, prio first. We're at 27 supply now, and then make our third base. Yo, Pity, thanks for the prime. Thank you, thank you. Make our third base. And now immediately take off 1 drone off gas. make our overlord first, spend our larva down to 0, then get zergling speed. Mineral priority. And now we're gonna make another overlord here pretty soon. We're gonna make another queen in a second. So inject, creep tumor, make a queen, and then we make another overlord. And we can like guard our creep tumor and shit like that. And then we make more drones again. And then get ready to watch that gas. We're getting close to 100 again, so we need to take off drone 2 in a second here. Now we just hit supply block, but we have no larva, and overlord should spawn right now. There we go. We can make another overlord again right now, and and then take out drone off gas, get overlord speed, and spend our larva. And now we injected our hatchery, and we go down to our 3rd base with this queen. And we can have this queen like throw another creep tumor out, and then have it now inject. And then make another queen at like our 3rd and our natural again. So we're still making queens. Now we're at 16, so we're going to rally our hatcheries to our 3rd and put 2 drones now, 2 new drones inside the gas in the main. Inject, 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 all of our bases, make drones. And now we should actually make some lings here, because if this was a real game, we would need some lings to defend Hellions. So we'll make like an extra like 10 lings or 12 lings. Excuse me, sorry. Keep spreading creep. Spread creep. And now overlord speed should be done, so we can go through his base and scout, make overlords, spread more creep, inject our bases. And now we have enough for a layer, and we can afford it with a good economy. And now we spent our larva back down to 0 again. So we're gonna, you know, keep spending our larva and keep injecting our bases. And then as soon as we have enough money, we'll make more queens again. Now all of our bases have 16 drones on it. We can re-rally all of our hatcheries back to their respective hatcheries. And here's what I want you to start doing from now on. At this point in time, now go up to 4 gases. You can take like 1 gas at each base. And take a 4th base at the same time. And also, we should have our Bane Nest being started already. Bane Nest is a tiny bit late, but you should make it when you have your 50 gas after layer, but it's fine. And now, I'm going to pause it really fast. And we're at 5 minutes and 6 seconds. 5 minutes and 6 seconds, just for the sake of just how it was, okay? At 5 minutes exactly, the game we watched just now, you were at 58 supply, we were at 84. And at 5 minutes and 6 seconds, and again, I paused it 6 seconds because I was talking, sorry. But that's 84 fucking supply right now. That's a big difference in supply from 58. But you were also at 43 drones, and right now we are at 61. At 5 minutes, we're at 61 drones. We have almost 20, we have 18 more drones than the previous game we just watched. And it's because we're not stopping our injects. We're prioritizing our larva. And we're, you know, not over prioritizing our gas. And I still have overlord speed. We still scouted the base. We still have zergling speed. We have queens. We have creep spread. We have everything. We have a Bane Nest. We have all of it. And now, when I'm fully saturated on all of my bases, is when we're going to take more gas. I'm going to make more drones. And when I overdrone a little bit more again, and when we have a layer, I can take my final gas at like my 3rd base. We can take another macro hatch. And then we can start like our upgrades and our hydrogen and our baneling speed buff upgrade. Like basically all the gas stuff that gets added into the build. So we're not over-gassing and over-investing into gas things when we're not fully saturated. We're doing it fully saturated first, and then we're going gas heavy. Okay, so we can take drones and saturate our bases. We can make spores as well, in case Terran was going for like, if we scouted a starport or some shit, which is totally fine. Totally normal. We have, right now we have 7 queens. We have 4 creep spreaders, and we have 3 injectors. Okay, we can get baneling speed as soon as that's done. We could take a macro hatch right now because we can afford it. We have all of our gases saturated, and at 5 minutes and 40 seconds, we're at 75 drones. When should I scout the second time? At 6 minutes. Because that's going to tell you if you haven't seen a third command center, or you haven't seen his... Basically, at 6 minutes, you're going to find out if he's going mech or bio, essentially. You'll know if he's going mech or bio at 6 minutes. Which is very, very nice to know. Okay, we could take double Evo chambers, and we could take our hydrogen now when we're nicely saturated. And now at this point, when we're fully saturated, this is when we should make some Banes, and we should make a quick round of Lings to increase our Ling count in case we get attacked. And then behind this, now we saturate our 4th base. Also, don't be such a stickler about being exactly 16 drones on each mineral line. It's not a big fucking deal. If you're playing fast, don't worry about it that much. So we can scout his base, you know, see, oh, he's going back to bio, blah, blah, blah. We could drone again. Drone again. Let's, if we saw a third command center, so I'm going to pause it one more time and say this. If you never saw a third command center, you don't fucking saturate the 4th base. You make army until you defend an attack. Yes, I got link speed right away. I literally started link speed at the start of the game. Yes, I have link speed. At this point in the game, Omnom, you need to really pay attention to this fucking moment right now. This is super important, okay? If you never scouted a third base, you do not saturate your 4th base because you will die. You just make army on 3 base, even though you have a 4th hatchery at a 4th base. You'll die if you make drones. However, if you did see a 3rd base, you could make a 4th base off of the amount of Lings I just made. I have 41 Lings and Banes mixed in group 1 right now. I can saturate my 4th base, and I will realistically be okay with the way we've opened this game, because it's still only 6 minutes and 43 seconds, which is super early, and I have 5 hatcheries that are going to have 5 queens injecting them, which is going to mean I'm going to explode now on units. I have not started Hydras yet, and I have 85 drones. We have 85 drones at 6 minutes and 40 seconds. I have not started Hydras yet. I have started the building, but I haven't started the unit. You were making Hydras constantly at like 55 drones. Which is 30 drones less than what I have, which is basically 2 fucking mineral lines. So the difference is in your game, when the game was like at 11, 12 minutes, you were sitting at like 120 supply. At like 12 minutes, you're sitting at like 120 supply. Okay? I want you to pay attention now to the clock and my supply. I am at your supply at almost half the game time. And on top of that, I'm going to be maxed out before 9 minutes. So if you can imagine that, if you and your opponent, that when you're playing games, are always like similar supplies, and you're at 120 at 12 minutes, if you fucking max out at like 9 minutes, at 9 minutes your opponent's going to have like 80 supply, or like fucking 100 supply, or 80 supply. Like, people just don't, people definitely fuck their builds up because they don't understand priorities. And if your build is Ling Bane focused with melee carapace upgrades, it's not gas focused. That is a mineral focused build. That is a larva focused build. That is not a Hydra build. That is not a lurker build. That is not a Nidus all in. That is not a tech timing. That is fucking mass Ling Bane. That can transition into ultras and hydras with it and stuff like that. That can support it. But it is a larva build, which is a mineral build. So now I can take a couple of my queens off my creep spreaders, and I can make them go inject hatcheries. I can take another base as well while we're at it. I can get upgrades.
Swarm forces under attack.
Okay. I can keep making units. I can rally point like all my hatcheries right there, which is fine. Like in front of my natural. Okay. We can keep spreading our creep, which is great. Creep is wonderful. Creep is beautiful. It's glorious. I still haven't made a Hydra yet, by the way. Because I can't afford it with my larva. I don't want larvae sitting on these hatcheries. But now that I've spent it all, and now that I have bank developing super fast, now I can make hydras. Because it won't have 40 fucking larvae sitting on my hatcheries. And I'm like, well, damn it. I'm not generating larvae anymore. It's not a thing. Because I'm spending it as we go. Which is good. Okay, saturate my gas, saturate my gas. Okay, and then we just make a couple more hydras. And look at my supply and look at the game time. Right? Like, this is definitely really early. And if you can just do this for yourself, you're way better off. We're just injecting our bases. We have lots of injects flying around all over the place. We're about to max out, and it's only 8:18. Keep spreading creep, because that's what we're doing. We just maxed out at 8 minutes and 24 seconds. And we have we have 6 hatcheries on 5 bases with 85 drones. This is exactly what I was talking about when I said you need to really focus on the worker aspect of the game and then hard shift into the army aspect of the game once your economy is done. And in every game, both games we just went over, you were still making drones and waves mixed with hydras and lings at like 9 minutes in the game. Like at 8 minutes in the game, you're still sitting on like 55 drones, which is why your supply is not developing like that. How should I scout second time with Overseer? How should I scout best with his? How should I best scout both his production and what should his third base look like with SCVs at 6 minutes? Yeah, he should be almost fully saturated. Like Terran is not the same as Zerg, by the way. It depends on what build they're going for. Some Terrans are a little bit more conservative if they're more aggressive. Some Terrans are a little bit more greedy if they're more defensive. Really depends how the Terran wants to play it. But at 6 minutes, the Terran should have a good, healthy amount of SCVs. Like 60 SCVs at 6 minutes. Which is basically almost a fully saturated third base. But again, it depends on the playstyle. Because here's this is why it's kind of hard to always give this exact, like, oh, he's going to have that exact amount at the third base. If the Terran player goes for like a 2-1-1, and he takes his whole army and drops your base with it, he's not going to just have a fucking greedy, like, defenseless third base. He's going to chill on it for a sec, right? Until he has another army to defend it. So 6 minutes is like pushing it. Vibe, when should I put spores in my main? At 90 drones? No. Okay, Omnom. So, spores are not spines. One spore per mineral line is completely acceptable around 4.5 minutes to 5 minutes based on what the Terran is doing with your first Overlord Scout. You can't always do the exact same thing with your Scout and with your Static D. I'm going to tell you right now, don't ever fucking make spines. Like, don't make spines until the phase of the game has begun where you're going to attack the Terran constantly. There's only one exception to that. Only ever make a spine crawler or a couple spine crawlers, like 2 of them, early game if the Terran is going for a Hellbat timing and it's really early and you're not going to have Banes or Roaches in time. That's okay. That's fine. But if it's not that exact scenario, don't fucking make spines until you have like 90 drones. Spines, specifically. Okay? Not spores. Spores, you can make 1 spore per base. I would suggest making 1 spore per base always as soon as you have your 4th base. Because by the time you have your 4th base, you should have like 70 plus drones already. And you should have 1 spore per mineral line. Also, like as the base finishes, immediately spore the mineral line. 1 spore. Just 1. Not like 4. Just 1. That way, every time a new base is finished and a new drone line goes to it, a spore is there, just in case the Terran wants to send a Liberator at it, or a Banshee at it, or some bullshit. But for the first time you make spores, and your first 3 base setup, do not make spores until you find out what the Terran's doing. Because if you just fucking make spores at like 4 minutes, and the Terran's going for like a double factory build, it's fucking pointless. It doesn't help you. It doesn't do anything. He doesn't even have a starport. He's going mass Hellions, which could happen. Or if the Terran's going for like a 2-1-1, do not make spores. You don't need spores versus a 2-1-1. He's not going to just drop the mineral line and let the Medivacs die to the spore crawler. He's going to drop outside your base and run bio in your fucking face. And if there was a spore there and his bio is not pushed back yet, he's just going to kill the spore with Marines. And then it doesn't matter. So the spores will just slow you down because they're not free. But if the Terran has a Tech Lab starport, or if he's going Liberator Hellion, you can totally make spores. That's completely acceptable. Or if he's going Widow Mines, and it looks like he's going to do Widow Mine drop, again, you can totally make spores. And the proper time to make spores would be 4 minutes and 30 seconds versus everything except for a fusion core. If it's a fusion core, delay it by about almost a minute. So 4:30 versus everything Terran can do with a Liberator or a Tech Lab starport. But if it's a fusion core, make spores at like 5:20. And the only reason why I say that is because it gives you some time to make a mistake, and you might be like, well, shit, I didn't make it till 5:30. But 5:30 is like the limit. If you don't make a spore by 5:30 and you're against battlecruisers, you're pushing your luck there. Because a battlecruiser will hit your base between 5:50 and 6 minutes, and a spore takes 21 seconds to build. So if you make a spore at 5:30 on the dot, and he has the earliest BC build he can do with 2 bases, and he hits you right at like 5:50, your spores would finish 1 second after he teleports into your base, which would still be fine. So 5:20 is a fusion core. 4:30 is everything else that needs a spore. Do not make spores, though, versus non-starport builds or versus a bio drop, like a Marine drop. Like 2-1-1. Don't make spores versus that either. But no matter what, though, no matter what, always make 1 spore per mineral line once you saturate your 4th base. From then on, every base gets 1 spore. That's very niche, super casual. It's very niche. I think the odds of him fighting against ghost cheeses are very unlikely. I don't want it to be confusing, but just to throw it out there, yeah, if you play against a ghost cheese, you can make a spore in front of your natural for detection against if he has cloak or something. But overseers are probably going to be fine there if you're worried more about drops. Okay, anyways, yeah. This build right here, though, Omnom. Save this. I'm going to give you this replay. Watch this replay, study this replay, do this fucking replay. Because your build, I'm telling you right now, your build that I witnessed you doing, different builds that you showed me, is not even remotely close to this. At all. You're not even fucking close. But it's not hard. Here's the beautiful part about it, though. What I just did is not hard with practice. It's really not. Anybody could do this if you just practice the... So it'd be like saying this. This is the difference, okay? This is literally the difference. Like, imagine if you're cooking and there's a recipe and it says this. It says, do a splash of soy sauce. And you're like, correct. And then you're like this. Okay, so it says splash the soy sauce. All right, the bottle's like half empty. That's probably good. Like, you're not even doing the fucking build right. It's not hard to do it right if you just practice it. You just gotta understand what the fuck you're doing. And everything we talked about today is gonna take you into that concept of understanding what you're doing. It'll take you down that path to get it. Because, again, I'm just repeating myself if I go into it all again. But all the reasons we talked about throughout this whole coaching lesson so far today is why you're having your economy is suffering. The biggest two were your gas timings are way too early, and your fucking larva usage is non-existent sometimes. Like, you're not injecting, which is making larva, and you're not using it when it's on the hatcheries, which is doing both not making it and not using it. Because, again, generation of larva is 50% of your larva from automated, not just injects. Yeah. Anyways, Omnom, any last questions? How much time do I have left in our current session? It's actually over. We're already over 2 hours. We've been coaching for 2 hours and 20 minutes, or 2 hours and like 30 minutes already. So we're actually over. But I'll give you another question though if you have one. Final question. Make it a good one if you have one. Yeah, I'm gonna post this to YouTube. Also, he was on Discord with me, and you guys can't hear him, by the way. And anyone who's like, is he talking? Do I not hear him? He's not talking anymore. He's typing in chat. He took like medication or something, and now he's off Discord. Vibes talking to himself. Yeah. Should I get Bane Speed? Yes, I got Bane Speed this game. When should I get Bane Speed? You should get Bane Speed immediately when your layer is done. So here's how it should work with your Bane. This is your gas, okay? Omnom, this is your gas. First 100 gas with 3 drones. Zergling speed. Second 100 gas with 2 drones. Overlord speed. Third 100 gas with 1 drone. Layer. At this point, your natural's fully saturated. Go back to 3 drones, just like I showed you in this game, in this VOD. Go back to, as soon as your natural has 16 on the mineral line, make new drones and put them back into the gas to go back to 3 out of 3. Your next 50 gas, after you make the layer, is a Bane Nest. And then your Bane Nest and your layer will finish at the same time. Start Baneling speed immediately. That's how that should work. And then do not take your Evo chambers or your tech on layer, whatever the fuck you want to make. Do not build those until you have 60 plus drones. Like 66 ideal. You want to have fully saturated mineral lines and gases before you take your tech. You do not want to be fucking making hydras like you have been on like 50 drones. That is so bad. Like, keep in mind, okay? I want you to remember this. Every time you make Hydralisk in the future, I want you to remember what I'm going to say right now. I did not make 1 Hydralisk this game until I was at 140 supply. I didn't, or like 150 supply. I did not even start a Hydra until I was almost already maxed out. And you were making Hydras in your games at like 80 supply. Or like 90. Like you were fucking making them so early. They're so expensive and you can't afford them that fast. Otherwise you can't afford Larva properly. Like it fucks everything up. And you don't really want to be using Hydras anyways before they have their upgrades. Like, you don't want to make Hydras when they don't have range or speed yet. They're fucking so bad at that point. Like, Queens are literally better at that point. Okay, anyways. Omnom, much love. Thank you very much for doing a coaching lesson. I do very much appreciate it. Everybody who watched this, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I hope it taught people stuff. I hope you learned something. I hope it helps you. And shout outs to... the raids I got. Trisha excuse me. Trisha, Mike Savage, thank you guys for the raids. And also thank you for the fucking super massive raid to whoever decided to raid me at ESL. I do super appreciate it. And anybody who came to my stream from there, thanks for hanging out, guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out, and I hope this helps you as well, like understand the game more if you found it, you know, interesting. But this is the end of the video, so thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video, whatever it is. Good luck, and yeah, go play some ladder. See ya. Bye bye.